combination of the two. And you even have 30 days to be sure you love your car, or you get your money back. So shop with confidence and find your perfect fit at CarMax. Tap the banner, click on this episode's page, or visit CarMax.com to learn more. 1,500-mile limit on 30-day money-back guarantee. See CarMax.com for details.
And Reg and Johnny for the Best Gaming Podcast, number 307, I believe. Absy had an issue. He couldn't come on. He had a headache, and just decided that best to not try to jump on, and then in 5 seconds end up having a problem and having to leave. Want to thank these guys for showing up. Want to thank all you guys for showing up. There's been a ton of gaming news too. We actually have a bunch of stuff to cover. We like Death Stranding 2 got leaked by Norman. I don't know if that was on purpose or not. I feel like that wasn't on purpose. That when they asked him that question, he probably wasn't paying attention to what he was saying. Because
do you think he gets in trouble?
Well, dude, they came after the Marvel guys all the time. The Marvel guys got in some deep shit. I mean, it actually changed it actually adjusted the NDAs that they had to sign later on. So, you know, we have, let's see, AAA games, a bunch of AAA games from Gearbox that they've talked about, and I didn't know that there were a couple that they've already listed, so we'll talk about those. We'll just talking about AAA games actually as a whole too, because Reg was talking yesterday, or somebody was talking, I thought it was Reg, but somebody posted that Embracer once again had said they had 25 of these AAA games, and we've all been of the understanding of like what's a AAA game mean to one company. So I think that's actually pretty important to talk about. You never quite know exactly who, you know, what AAA means to one company versus another, and exactly how much money one company is going to spend versus the other. So I figured that'd be fun to talk about. Let's see. Thank you everybody for showing up. You guys absolutely rock for being here. It's been an awesome week. You guys should have seen a review from, let's see, what was it? Vampire the Masquerade Swan Song. And I did a video on some news. Thank you everybody for showing up and watching the news. I know that's not what you probably come here for, but those are going to continue to go out. We sort of got a set up, I think, with Absy and I. We figured out a way to get some news out to you guys a little bit more quickly. I think it took us about an hour, about 2 hours to get that news out, which isn't so bad when you consider that it was probably only 1 hour technically. It's just that we were back and forth trying to see that. So I hope you guys like those kind of things. Johnny, have you been doing anything unique on your channel, or are you still just, you doing your streams? Have you done any interviews lately on your channel?
I haven't in a while. I took a little break from that because I noticed I was doing too many things, and I was kind of spreading myself too thin. So I decided to do less, but with higher intensity. So whenever I'm there, I'm live, you know, I try to have good energy and just,
yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to know what you should do right now.
Yeah.
That's why I told Absy in the background, because he's helping me with the editing. He basically is editing now. And I was telling him that what I've been doing is like the stuff I know works, and then a side thing I enjoy. And hopefully you enjoy the main thing. Hopefully, which I do. But what I mean is something that's maybe takes a little longer, or something that is a little less review-like.
Since you asked, let me be a bit shameless and plug my series of videos that I'm doing on the side, which is, these are sort of like 10-minute videos where I discuss a topic. It's always about gaming, and it's usually a mix of, it's not like news necessarily, so it's something that's kind of always green, if that makes sense. So someone can watch that video and it's still, you know, relevant a month from now. So it's not just like, hey, this news just hit. It's more like, you know, is this type of thing, you know, good or bad?
It might have a long tail to news.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never
just like discussion.
Yeah, it's enjoyable. Especially now that we have the podcast sort of up and running, it's always nice to sort of roll into the podcast. For example, like Vampire, which we'll talk about. Am I the only one who played Vampire out of this group?
Yeah, for now, I think.
Okay, congratulations to everybody. So we will talk about that. We'll talk about other stuff. I do want to also thank the patrons. You guys have basically made these kind of things and sort of investigations possible. And we've lost patrons in the past because I haven't been able to cover every game. That kind of stuff happens. But I definitely appreciate the long-term patrons. And I ended up getting some questions from long-term patrons. And I was like, you know what? I don't do a lot of patron-specific stuff that's not involved in the Discord. Like the $1, $3 is more like, hey, thanks for being here.
Right.
The 5 is like a thing, and then the more expensive ones are, for example, I have about 5 or 6 people at the higher tier for helping them with their YouTube channel. But people ended up sending me questions. I do want to answer them because they were a little bit weird. So I'm going to answer 2 very specific questions I was not expecting to get, because one's about life and one's about the channel, or his channel. So I'm going to start with somebody who's asked a question about a channel. It's Boxers in Brief. He says, my channel just got monetized, so first, congrats. But also as I grow, I notice more toxicity in the comments. How do you deal with it? Johnny, do you get a lot of toxicity in yours?
None. Or very rarely. Well, I do have one person who jumps in to say,
I hate your shit.
oh, you're the least enjoyable member in the ACG podcast. Actually, recently that person came back to say, congrats, you're no longer the least enjoyable because Abzy is not, so they're just, unhappy with new.
Dude, when Go was here, he'd get shit. Right. Silver's got shit. Reg has got shit. Reg doesn't like anything. Silver's never happy. Carrick talks too much. It's like, dude, it's a talking video. What the fuck do you think we're gonna do? All sit here like statues? You'll always have that. But ignoring the dumbass, you don't really have a lot of toxicity.
No, not really, actually. But I'm still fairly small, so we'll see.
Yeah, so we'll hope. I would say dealing with toxicity, just so everybody knows, this is from my standpoint, and then I'll explain it a little bit from other people's standpoints. First, it's going to matter how you deal with it. Do you like toxicity? As in, are you the Johnny Depp of game reviews, where when somebody says bad job, you're like, I'm doing it twice now? That's more like me, where I'm like, because I know the majority do like it. So if I see the majority like it, and you'll get some people dislike it, you're like, okay, I'm still hitting the majority. This is what I want to do. And that's not removing critique. This is when somebody like Johnny said, is like, you're stupid. It's like, dude, seriously?
Yeah.
I will say that's one way. Then there's another way where it bothers you, and I will tell you right now, there is no easier way to get rid of that than to just remove the person from being able to post on your channel. And you should do that. You don't owe a person the ability to post on your video.
Yeah.
You don't. There's no such thing. It doesn't even exist. In fact, you're making something just like you could throw something out in the world and never look at reviews ever again, like a movie star or a book writer who doesn't look at their reviews. You could do that. It's not controlling free speech either, because that has nothing to do with free speech. So if you want to do that, I would suggest you definitely do that, because if that burns you out, especially when you're getting started and people are like, you don't look as professional as somebody else. It's like, dude, we've been running for fucking 6 years and we barely get the podcast going. The last article or the last video of the podcast right before this didn't even have audio in it. And I've been here for 6 years. So, it doesn't matter how long you've been here. You could look professional day one or not professional. I would say turn them off, man. If you get people who are just assholes, turn them off. And if that's how you have to deal with it, I think it's okay.
Because you sometimes call people out on their bullshit.
You
you respond to some of this shit.
I love it. Dude, I love it, because now I'll get people who will say you missed the rating. Well, that's valid as fuck.
Okay.
Right? Like that's, but if somebody doesn't watch the video and they're like, blah, 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 then I do have a
It's so clear too.
It's
right?
literally
they will
right
have
there.
a comment like,
yeah. And usually other people will take care of it. I always tell people other people should take care of it. You guys should defend Johnny if you guys were in his chat, let's say. And somebody was being a dick. What I would expect any of us to be like, dude, what are you doing? Right? Like,
yeah, and we see it in your Discord too. Like when someone is out of line, the room moderates itself.
The room definitely does for the most part, does moderate itself. And
it's not perfect, but it is.
I do like going after, the low-hanging fruit, but there is some really good critique you'll get too. So you don't want to remove that. But you also want to understand that one person's excellent critique may change your entire channel. And you'll get that on Reddit a lot of times, where somebody on Reddit will be like, I don't like that Carrick jokes, he should never joke. And I'm like, well, that's literally why people watch. So
Right.
if I did change for that one person may like it. And you may have 1,000 people on Reddit say that, which they don't. But I'm saying if you change, that would be 45,000 people who now aren't watching it, just so
Yeah.
those 1,000 people are. But then somebody may say, you weren't clear on this. Well, dude, that's something else.
Yeah.
Like that makes sense. So for this person, it depends on your mentality and it depends on what you can take, and never ever be bothered by removing that if you have to. Also, if somebody says amazing job, don't take it personal, because that person may hate you the next day. Don't get into the dopamine rush of seeing a video do well and seeing people talk about it and seeing people say you're the best.
Chasing likes.
Yeah, I'll have people be like, dude, you're the best reviewer, and I'll be like, thank you, I love it, I'm glad you're getting, I usually say something like, I'm glad you're getting content out of the blah, blah, blah. And the reason why I say that is because if that goes away and that person leaves, it's not a personal thing. They're not getting content they're not getting what they need from it. So you should handle it whatever way you can, but I will tell you, man, there's millions of people out there, and it's 1 versus 1,000,000. You can't win. So if they're all hammering on you and you like what you're doing and you're trying your best, then I would say either ignore it, move on, look at some critique, or have somebody look at the critique for you. You have a friend, have them gather the critique for you and give it to you. And I think that is a very valuable, not used as much as I think it's very important for people. Some people need that. It's like you should do that. I think it's super important for you to take care of your mental health, especially now when you're stuck at home. And he says I'm covering video game reviews right now. How do you feel about early access reviews? How do you guys feel about early access video game reviews?
I mean,
like
as
that.
soon as you charge for a game, then it's fair to review it.
Exactly.
I think it actually may be a bit of a gap in the YouTube ecosystem.
Shoot the gap. Yeah.
Shoot the gap. Like if you're starting a channel, like that's not a bad niche to aim for, because a lot of bigger channels, like I know yourself, Carrick, sometimes you have to choose, and choosing between like a full release title and something that's in early access, it's a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
And so you don't get time to cover a lot, but I do like if I see a review from you or someone else that I follow on an early access title, it really helps, because I'm already really skeptical about those games to jump in. So having a good review on it with good data, is one of the few things that often gets me to actually pick one up these days.
Gotcha. Silver, Reg, anything to add? You both said yes, it's fine, but I mean, is there anything to add?
But the thing with early access is, of course, that the plan of it is that the game changes.
Yeah.
So it's as a user, it's a bit more complicated, because you would have to look at reviews that are closer to when you're looking at the game.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Silver, anything to add?
No. Reg summed it up well.
I will say thank you for telling me that, because I actually disagreed and said I don't like doing early access reviews, but I've been having this discussion with about 10 people behind the scenes, and hearing what Johnny just said, not that they didn't say the same thing, so apologies to you guys watching who've had this discussion with me, because I know some of you are in the chat discussed this very thing, and I put my foot down. I was like, I don't like it because my name's involved, and then later somebody's going to come along and say, you said this was worth it, blah, blah, blah. But they were telling me there's ways to get around that, and you're right. So, yeah, I'll definitely start looking into it more, and I agree with Johnny. If you're starting out, I'm telling you, there's 2 places to shoot the gap right now, man. DLC reviews are huge. Nobody covers them. And I did a couple DLC reviews. They do very well in their demographic. They don't get nearly as much as the main one. That would be stupid. But they get incredibly good views, and a lot of people will track that. Also, Fabi, $2 super chat. Hi, I won Swan Song code, but ACG never reached back. Hi, no, you for sure didn't, because I didn't give out the code yet. Next, moving on. So I can refund that super chat, by the way. If that was the person who fakes, there's all these bots faking all the YouTubers and saying like, you won blah blah blah. Check WhatsApp, but it's not even our name. They just steal your your JPEG. They pretend they're you. What were you going to say, Silver?
Just, I mean, to the point of early access reviews, it's also gotten more complicated because of the rising popularity of the games as a service thing, which sort of puts games in a kind of state of early access, even at launch, where they're like 2 years out of their release date. They're likely to be considerably different than they were at release. So a review at release isn't necessarily relevant 2 years on for a game like Ghost Recon Breakpoint, which has changed quite a lot from its release, or For Honor even, or other games that are live service games.
Yeah. Fabi, no worries, bud. You don't need to do super chats to say sorry, bro. I'm gonna refund both those super chats, man. You don't need to super chat that. You're good to go. To spam, everybody knows it's been going on for years. I apologize. It's just one of those things. We try to remove them as quick as possible. Let's see. Next up. This is from... Okay. I can't read that username. That's sort of... I can't read that username. He says, hey, patron since day one. Watched you guys since forever. GB Rocks, bring him back. Cool. We should. I should contact him because he's doing quite well, I think, and stuff like that. He may want to talk about other games other than Rockstar stuff, too. So I'll reach out to him and find out. He says, I have a unique non-gaming question, but you always have been good with advice. My wife and I don't have sex often.
Oh boy, here we go.
What do you do to keep it spicy? I work so much, and when I come home, I want to crash. When I have a spare moment, I'm always fixing something around the home, paying bills, or taking care of the kids or the animals. It is very tough, but obviously you want to make sure that your significant other appreciates you. Yeah, I can tell you, I think this is relevant for all of us with COVID too. Because I don't know if you guys have known, but there's been a lot of breakups too. You know, where people get together and they're stuck in their houses because of COVID.
Yeah. And they drive each other crazy.
And they drive each other crazy. And then some have come together and been like, this is the greatest thing in the world. I will say, I think I can answer this because this is something that I definitely, you deal with. I've been in long-term relationships, short-term ones. I've been in ones where the person lived with me didn't. Okay, first of all, don't listen to social media. The social media would have you believe that everybody doesn't need to shave or wash themselves or do anything to make themselves presentable. Right now you have two types. You have the Kim Kardashian Instagrams, which is everybody needs to look a certain way, and here's our glamour pose, which I have no issue with, by the way. I want to say I actually don't. If they want to look that way, that's awesome. That's awesome. Then you have the other group who's like people telling each other how much they fart, like it's some kind of surprise. You see a lot of podcasts where it's like, we're going to have two people on the podcast, all they do is talk about pregnancy and farting. It's like, okay, you're a human. That's not really that surprising. And it's after a short amount of time, it's not really realistic. It's like you're just regurgitating the same shit. We know people do that. There's a middle ground of presenting yourself, understanding you're living with somebody else. This is like a roommate too. If you try to take care of your roommate, if your roommate's having issues, if your roommate doesn't have the money, sometimes you spot them. If your wife or husband doesn't have the money, sometimes you spot them. When it comes to sex, when it comes to attraction, you should wash your fucking self, man. You should occasionally go out. You should occasionally do stuff with them, and don't get caught. And I've got caught where you're looking at the computer and you're doing all work and you realize that a month has passed. That's bad, man. That's bad for everybody involved. Even if it doesn't result in a breakup, it can result in a massive change to your life. So I would just say, make sure to remember that the other is there. Turn off your computer. And he said something about a lot of times he just wants to rest with them. That's another thing I tell people. Sometimes
That's a great idea.
rest with them. I don't know. I don't. You can cuddle if you want. You can use that term if you want. But I do find it weird that people. I love watching TV shows, and I will do everything I can.
Yeah.
Whether I was with a roommate or a wife or a girlfriend, one of the multiple ex-fiancés I've had. Like, let's sit down and watch shows together. If they don't like video games, that's fine. Do they like books? Let's listen to an audiobook together. Let's read the same book at the same time. There's things that you can do. I've had people say I don't really have a lot in common with my wife.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, the thing in common is you probably love yourself and they probably love you. So there's probably something you do have in common. There's a reason why you're together, unless it's a mail order bride. So you can usually figure something out. But I would say rest together, relax together, talk about the shit. If it is tough, like I see people say, I'm so stressed out, I don't want to talk. And I'm like, as long as you're not stressed about them, you should talk to that person. as long as they're open to it.
Right.
You know, sometimes they're not, but I do think that right now we're in a weird place. I just saw it recently where like these people were like, man, if she doesn't like me, you know, got 350 pounds, never walks outside, pale as a fucking ghost, and is like, if she doesn't like me, fuck her. And you see a girl be like, I don't shave, I don't wash. If he doesn't love me, it's like, you know, you get if the thing. Sometimes like a fucking. Sorry, but it's like a lot of people don't put effort in, and that's right now. That's a thing. Right now, you have high effort, and social media, and low effort, and it's difficult. But I'm glad I can
Sometimes
have.
it's
Go ahead, Joe.
It's even like people call you a tryhard. Oh, you trimmed your beard. Oh, you groomed your beard. Oh, what a tryhard. Bitch, get out of here.
Here's what I say.
Okay.
If they consider that trying, give up.
Bro, like,
Give up on life. If that's your best, frankly, keep it to your fucking self.
Let's
if
be
you think
honest.
trimming your beard is try hard, man. Do they
most
wipe
of
their
us
ass? Probably
average
not.
dudes, we gotta try our best, right? It's not like because you were saying earlier, George Clooney can get away with a fucking.
Yeah, when he
beard.
has fucking people taking care of him.
Yeah,
He
even
does like
that
mine.
is like.
He puts his hands out. People fucking trim him and groom him. They lift his nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Like, people think
yeah.
that you roll. There are very few people. Do you know who you see say, here's my no makeup pic? The hot people. That's who you see do
Yeah.
that. You'll see him go like, here's my no makeup pic, and you're looking at him going, okay, come on. You know, there are some people that can get away with that. Or somebody's like, I never
Yeah.
work out, and they're still ripped. 1 in a million. 1 in a million. You're not The Rock.
Yeah, let's
You're
be
not-
honest.
Yeah, The Rock's
Yeah.
all natural, as well.
Oh,
Let's move on to
nice.
games.
Definitely.
Thank you very much. That's for the patrons. I know some people will be like, oh man, we're not talking about games. That is correct. We're not right
Do you know what? That was actually good advice, though. Because people laugh, oh, ACG life advice, but that was actually legit.
Dude, I've lived long enough to know what mistakes. I can just tell people to do the exact opposite of what I do. Face 23BKNY, $20 super chat. It's crazy how fast a company's perception could go down the drain. Xbox was doing great, then DRM problems, game delays after they announced their showcase Xbox Civil War, then an ambassador telling people you can't criticize Xbox. I can only speak for myself. I have no clue if there's any.
Bro, I
have
missed
not
at
heard
least
any
2 of
negative
those.
perception. Yeah, I missed 2 of those, and all I do is hear people say they love theirs.
It's so funny, yeah, because my perception is still like, people like Microsoft. Microsoft is doing great.
Yeah, an ambassador? What's an ambassador? Like somebody with like bars on their shoulder, like Admiral Akbar out there?
I
who works
assume
for
like a
Xbox?
spokesman.
What? Go ahead, Silver.
I would assume like a spokesman.
Okay.
Well,
Is it
that's
called
an interesting way to put it, though. An ambassador.
Oh, you know
It
what
is.
though? It is. It is. But yeah. So you know how influencers? I do believe that some people are called like, I don't know if it's Xbox, but like the company ambassador, and they're just a hired influencer.
Oh,
So,
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And
And
I think there is
I
an
don't see them
Xbox
moving
ambassador
forward.
program, as is a Nintendo ambassador program, etc. It's just super fans that want to promote it.
super fans, yeah. So if a super fan tells you that you can't criticize Xbox, well, that's on you for believing them. That's just stupid. It is fast though. Companies' perceptions can go down really quick. We've seen it, right? I mean, CD
I mean,
Projekt
see-
Red.
Yeah,
Over and over
that's-
Yeah, over and over again.
Here-
Over.
here's
It's not
the
like this is
question.
new. It happened SNES times when Nintendo kicked out Sega from Toys R Us.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Johnny.
Well, my question was, can the flip side also happen? So just as quickly, can a company turn it around to the positive? Let's say that CDPR comes out with, I don't know, Witcher 3, next gen, the next Witcher, and it's awesome. Are they saved at that point, or is there still animosity?
I mean, yeah, there is. I mean, Microsoft, again, an example of that. Like, Microsoft has been, like, in the toilet in terms of popularity at times. Like, the DRM thing for the Xbox One.
And they've
That
come
was
around.
that was a public relations nightmare for them. And yeah, they managed to recover from it. And rebound.
Yeah, I mean, this happens with outside of gaming all the time. Like, to me, it's not.
Yeah, it happens everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, I like the saying, "You're only as good as your last whatever."
Yeah, it's
last
not what
project,
have you done for
last-
me, it's what have you done last for me.
Yeah, and you know, we could take Bethesda just to pick a different example, not
Yeah.
to not pile on CDPR. Like Fallout 76. Okay, some people loved it. Let's just say overall it was a flop.
Yeah, but they were probably a Bethesda ambassador. Sorry.
The people who loved it, or their moms.
The people who
Yeah.
loved it. Anyway, continue.
But you know, if they come out with what is it?
Starfield?
Starfield, and it's awesome, great.
Yeah.
You know, we'll love it, right? I don't think any of us will be like, yeah, it's a great game, but Fallout 76 kind of sucked. So, right? That's not a thing.
Yeah. I don't think it's a thing for normal people. I think it is a thing for, we always joke, but, you know, like the people who have their book of woe, who hold on to this forever.
the
Yeah.
little black
Dwarf.
book.
Yeah, like a dwarf writing in his own blood. He's like, I will hate. You know, we all have that, but I mean, we're all old enough to have lived through, what, 3 gens now? How many gens? How many is the youngest?
gens.
Johnny's the youngest, right?
More. Yeah.
I'm 33. Am I the youngest?
So you've got through, at minimum, 3 gens. No, 4 gens. You've got, what was your first system? Like, that was current when you had it?
My very first was a Super Nintendo.
Okay, was that current, though, when you got it? As in, was that
In Brazil, it was fairly current,
True,
but it's possible that it was kind of late to the...
But I mean, we've seen companies go up and down.
Because I'm from 88, right? So that would be maybe around, what, early 90s when I had it?
And Sega
that would be fairly
Genesis.
current.
Remember, Sega Genesis was amazing. Then they did the 32X and Saturn, and Sega went from being a premier arcade / home producer to nothing. Nothing.
Yeah.
Just in what I would consider to be a fairly short time. It's a good thing to bring up, but I would say
Atari as well.
no focus on that. Atari as well, yeah. Atari. I mean, now it's like a name, right? That's all it is. Just a name. It means nothing. Rahans, $5 super chat. You can scam me with that manly beard, ACG. Appreciate you. Love your reviews. Here's $5. Buy yourself something pretty. Something pretty. Okay, I'm gonna buy myself a nice lacy bra and put it on in the next podcast. Wizard of Smoke, $5. Have you guys tried Long Road North? It's a video game. No, it's a video game music video. Have you tried Long Road North? It's a video game music video by Cult of Luna. Amazing concept. You guys like those types of games? It's a video game music. So I'm assuming, like you're putting the music video together. I don't know what this is, man. I'll check it out. I love this kind of shit. I love this kind of stuff, man. So, have you guys, any of you guys, even heard of
It
this?
says it's an interactive music video of a song.
Gotcha. Daniel says ACG looks like Keemster. No, I don't Keemster, so technically he looks like me. Interesting. I've heard that. I'll check it out. Let's see. T9 Con Super Chat. Just wanting to say thanks for your work. I picked up Songs of Conquest based on your recommendation from last week's podcast. Technically not mine. That was Abs and Reg who seemed to think that game was like the bee's knees, man. Really
Pretty
far
much.
along. Go ahead.
Very polished, very pretty.
That's awesome, man. And that's early access, so there you go. Yeah, right? We were just talking about early access, there you go. Zuckus07, $5 super chat. Thanks for the super chat, guys. You guys don't realize it distinctly helps the channel. The top 5 intro made me play Black Mesa for the first time. The remake is incredible. I can only imagine what Half-Life was like for the first time in 1998. Well, 1998 was fucking awesome because it was 1998.
It's photorealistic, dude.
True that.
Absy was grabbing the footage for it, and my brain hadn't seen Half-Life in a while, and so we were like putting the trailer together for this top 5, and I was looking at it going, oh damn, yeah, damn. But this Black Mesa, so that people know, I believe, is it fully done, or is it?
They finally, like a couple of years ago, they finally made, like it took them 5 or 7 years to make the Sen levels, like the Alien.
Yeah, I heard they were having issues with the Alien. That's what it was.
But yeah, they finally got done with it.
Isn't that awesome, guys? We have a full remake, and Valve didn't go after them. Which, I don't know how that occurs. I don't know if Valve just is okay, or if they contacted Valve. But That's a full remake of Half-Life. So if you guys get a chance,
there was contact between them as far as I know.
there was contact. So there you go.
Nice.
So if you guys get a chance and you haven't played Half-Life, Black Mesa's there to update you to maybe last gen's graphics. Maybe this. I don't know like how close it is to like today, but I mean I played Vampire and that's today and it was close to 10 years ago. So we'll get to that.
Those models, dude. The game looks cool, but like the models, though.
Dude,
By the way, Black Mesa, I just was looking it up. It
By
was
the way.
one of the first 10 titles to be voted on by fans.
first
by
10
the Green
titles.
Light Project. Just a
My name is Arnold.
Remember that?
like
Wait.
ages ago.
Yeah.
By the
Space
way.
Channel 5, $2 super chat. I had an Intellivision and a ZX Spectrum as a kid. Yeah. I remember the Intellivision. I never. Let's move on though.
Sleep did.
Into gaming.
Why
Okay,
don't
let's
we
do one more
be?
super chat. Ross, $5 super chat. Picked up Tales of Arise off you all's recommendation. Been in touch with my inner weeb only. With my inner weeb, I bet you. This is what he said.
Yeah.
I bet you.
Yeah.
With my inner weeb all week. Now, if V Rising would make controller support.
True.
It's missing it. Tales
It
of
doesn't
Arise
have
is my first excellent Tales game. And it's not the best, probably. But what I mean is, I like it. Something about Tales of Arise worked for me. I don't know how to, compared to the others. Maybe it was just I finally caught what it looks current, maybe. It plays pretty current. It's got some issues. But I thought Tales
Did
of
it
Arise...
have English voices, or was it all like Japanese?
No, it had English voices. I think some places.
Oh, right. Yeah, for sure.
Last super chat, and then we'll get going. Hey, joint F for $5. Have you guys heard of a VR game called War Remains, made by Dan Carlin, which shows you what it was like on the western front of World War I? No, Dan Carlin's Hardcore History, right? I'm almost
think so,
100%
yeah.
Dan Carlin is the Hardcore History podcaster. I have not seen that. I'll check it out. I'm big into VR. All right, let's move on. We actually do need to talk about games. So, Johnny. Well, we've been talking about games the entire time, but I mean, we do need to cover the current stuff. Johnny, what game are you playing, or what games have you been playing?
So the ongoing stuff hasn't changed, so I won't touch on that. But this week I've been playing V Rising, which is a game that a few people have been talking about on YouTube. Early access. Think like Lost Ark meets Valheim. So you're a
Lost Ark.
it's the gameplay of Lost Ark, kind of, but the building style of Valheim. And you're a vampire, so there you go. That's kind of the setup of the game. You can build castles, and it's great. I've been really actually addicted to it. So yeah, I wanted to talk about it today. We don't have to jump into it now, but it's definitely something I wanted to chat about.
Reg, same game, right?
No, not really. I've barely played anything after injuring my back last weekend. But what I did play was Siberia, the world before the new
I was
Adventure
gonna
game.
say Lost Ark.
Yeah. I liked what I
Pretty
saw.
good so far, although I don't quite know where it will go
I mean,
story-wise, because your main motivation of running around so far is
All you
kind
just
of
said.
weak.
Valheim.
Yeah, so I watched you stream. You were about an hour in. I watched you stream, and I'm pretty sure in that hour, there was no story move forward moment. It was like, hey, I got a picture of a person. You
But
know
I'm
who this
currently
is?
just walking around the town asking people, talking to them, because someone else told me I look like a person in a picture.
Yeah.
Like, that's my motivation of being there.
I liked what I saw. Game's got a fucking amazing reviews. Probably the best reviews of a Siberia game I've seen so far. I think it looks awesome. He had some frame rate issues, bad ones, but it was only on his PC, right? You said Steam Deck for some reason ran it fine.
Yes, I tried with the same settings on PC, like 720p medium graphics, everything. And
weird.
that one scene still only 21 FPS. On the Steam Deck, log 30, no issues. I don't know why it doesn't like my
Driver,
graphics card.
Elden Ring Magic also
Yeah.
they
Lost
fixed
Ark
it.
versus
I have no
Valheim.
idea.
Yeah. So he was playing that. What I saw graphically, man, Siberia's easily current.
Oh, the voice acting is also very good.
Voice acting and the writing was so, and we'll talk about Vampire, but it was like coming out of a game like that, which I wanted to like but didn't, and then to see like this, I was all, oh, that's how writing should be in a game. Like, full sentences, and even though it didn't put it, I could say that, but there was no plot. So maybe it's not the best writing, but at least what I saw of the tangential bits that Reg was playing, the game fucking looks good, sounds good, and had some really good writing. So I mean,
Although I did then afterwards, after trying to figure out why it ran so poorly in that specific scene on my PC, see that they're using a Unity engine, and I was like, okay.
For me, it's I don't say it's addicting. It's just
you never know with
more
Unity,
cheese
right?
things.
No more
It's a
questions.
game where you get to
What do I
cheat
use,
things, and
Silver?
with
What's
achievements,
the
you
main
get to
title
move
you've been
forward.
playing this week, if any? Yeah, it's fine.
Mostly Lego Star Wars.
Lost Ark
Skywalker.
and
Gotcha.
Valheim. I don't like Lost Ark.
Enjoying it for the most part. I'm finding it quite fun.
fan of
There are
Lost
some
Ark.
wrinkles here and there. I found it surprisingly buggy, actually. Like, scripting broke quite a few times for me, where I had to restart the game. But yeah, I have to say that what they really, really did well was just the sheer scope of character selection you have. And, like, the way some of these characters can interact with each other, like, hanging around, like, Count Dooku and General Grievous, like, walking together and stuff, like, having voice lines together and stuff like that. That works really, really well. I think they really, really nailed that aspect. And yeah, it's a lot of fun for an old Star Wars fan like myself. Sort of go back into that sort of nostalgia.
Okay, did you start chronological? So are you going like episode 1?
Yeah, I started
Through
with
9?
episode 1 and then
Yeah.
I went through. Yeah,
As in prequels.
yeah, the prequels first.
I see.
The Phantom Menace first, and then
Yeah.
on from there. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I thought that game, I mean, it had a delay or 3, right? At least one big one. They've been working on it a long time, but what I saw and what I got to play, I was really impressed with that game, and I hope they continue building it.
It's also, it's for the most part, I think the humor's pretty good. Like it's consistently funny, but it does struggle a lot with the more sort of serious Star Wars stuff, like the scene with Anakin's mother and stuff. They're a bit of a miss, I think, with this game. Which is also, that's a difficult topic to sort of make fun of or parody. So that's granted, but I don't think they quite manage it.
For sure. Thanks everybody for all the different games that you guys have been playing. I appreciate it. Also, if you get a chance, I would love for you to go to Twitter and Facebook and stuff and post that we're doing the podcast. Next up, the affiliate link. I had a note even here. If you guys buy from Amazon or you buy Epic Games, you can use the affiliate link. That does help out the channel. I got to pimp at least one or two. Moving on from there, let's talk about news. So Death Stranding, we knew that there was probably something happening, but then Norman Reedus did an interview for a website about all things entertainment. They were talking about everything. And I don't know if Norman, high as fuck, or if he realized what was happening, or if he was told it was okay. But the person who was interviewing him was like, yeah, you're doing a book, you're doing the Ride TV show, you're doing all these shows, you did this, Death Stranding game, and he's like, yeah, and we just started number 2. Now, here's the thing. They said enough stuff that when he said he said we just started the second one, you could interpret that originally as the second series, because they are moving to him but that's not what happened. The interviewer then asked him what it's like, and he, in current tongue, as in no past tense, he's talking about what it's currently like doing a video game. And then it just, that's not a mistake. Like,
So he didn't even notice it? He didn't stop like, oh...
Well, I don't know if he noticed it. It might have been something where he said, I have an interview, and they said, you know what, it's time to talk about it. We're going to give you free reign to talk about it. I don't know.
But he didn't react like he had fucked up.
No, and they didn't edit it to... they could have removed it, too. And they didn't.
Right, yeah,
So
yeah.
they say, and he said, yep, we just started the second one. And they were like, what's it like working on a video game? And then he just goes off about everything. So, we're going to assume it's number 2, Death Stranding. Some people said a prequel would be nice. What do you guys think about... I know you guys all have played it, I believe. What do you want from a Death Stranding? Would you want a prequel? Would you want a sequel? Would you want what do you want?
Well, honestly, I would say nothing.
Nothing?
Because I thought the game was perfectly self-contained without any need of prequel, sequel, or anything.
Gotcha. Anybody else?
Yeah, I would agree. I don't really. I mean, a lot of some of the, most of the lore, of the original Death Stranding was the mystery of it, of sort of unveiling the background of the apocalypse of Sam Bridges' background, his personal history, all those things, and those mysteries have all been solved. So I sort of struggle to and I don't know that the game would work anywhere nearly as well without that sort of element of mystery to it that was in the original.
Johnny?
I think that I'm a bit torn. On one side, I would like to see some characters explored their pasts. So, like some of the characters that we see, what were they up to 10 years ago or something, right? That'd be cool. But we know that the state of the world was way different back then. So you can't really, I don't think you really have the same setup for the same type of gameplay with the UPS delivery stuff, right? Because stuff was up and running back then, I think. So if you want to preserve the current gameplay, like maybe you can only go into the future. I don't know. It's
Well, let me answer the question accurately. Motherfucker. It's coming. So it doesn't matter what we want. Right? It's coming. We're just going to say it's coming. So I'm going to say it this way. What would get me to play it? Right? What would get me to be more interested in this? Or what would get you guys to return to it, even though you didn't wake up saying it's needed to be done? I would say a prequel would be cool, because I know that some things were wrapped up, but it is a Kojima game, which is a lot like a J.J. Abrams kind of thing, where he has no clue what he's doing 90% of the time.
Right.
And right now, that's a big thing. Right now, people, I think, are okay with open-ended everything. But I think that a prequel would work well, because I think there is a gap of time there. And there are some characters, maybe somebody, I don't know, but maybe somebody mentioned in an audio log somewhere that people are like, that's an interesting character, blah, blah, blah. Now, it is Norman, though. So then you have to say, well, if it's him,
yeah.
right? So what I'm saying isn't really going to work with him. So let's say it is him, then it does change, like, what the expectations from it could be. Now, he could be showing up in, audio logs, but I don't think that's it. It's Norman Reedus. He's hot right now. Most likely he'll be the main character. So that does change even my suggestion of a prequel, because then you have to look at him and go, what do we need, from him? What do we need? And what's available as a story afterwards? And that does...
The only thing I can
go ahead.
really think of would be a different location. Like what happens at another country.
Mm-hmm. With Norman, though, like what? Does he get on an airplane or something?
Like
that part is an issue, but
right.
like
German
just
Norman.
generally thinking of what I want.
Yeah. It's funny, because you can think, a prequel would be cool, but then now that we know he's the one who said it, it wasn't like a leak.
There was the teleporting umbrella. So.
There you go. Use the thing from Metal Gear. What were those called? Where you could put balloons on people. There was a particular name.
Oh God,
that was
that mothership.
I hated that, Pete. You liked it? I don't know why I didn't like it. I mean, I liked it.
I
liked
ballooned everybody.
Yeah, there was a name for it, though. Rappel, Flaptrap.
Yeah, Fulton.
Yeah, I knew there was some weird name for it.
Attach that shit to everything you can see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would go the old-fashioned route and actually summon the helicopter and put them on the helicopter.
Yeah.
Plus, you could attach it to yourself as well for fast travel.
And they didn't even tell you that. It wasn't, as far as I remember,
I never knew that.
I didn't know.
You needed like the ultimate upgrade to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
So we do have, we do have all this. He could be working on the rumored Boondock Saints Battle Royale game. Boondock Saints Battle Royale. Norman's been in a lot of shit, though, man. First thing I saw him in pudgy Norman Reedus. Like,
he
saw
was
him
there, huh?
I loved him, but he didn't look like an let's be honest. Norman's the opposite of a big... Norman's definitely got a Johnny Depp, probably pretty dirty, smelling a lot of the time look to him. and I love Norman. But super black bags under his eyes. He did Blade 2, and he was just pudgy and dirty looking, and they played that character to his. That was what they wanted.
Yeah.
And to see him achieve absolute, utter, unbelievable success is awesome to me.
Crazy, yeah.
It's crazy, and they were talking to him about how working on the TV show, and he's like, I love it. They were like, you don't get tired after 12 years, and he's like, dude, I motorbike into work. The people I love are here, and I get to play this character that I've aged 12 years as well. So now,
This episode is brought to you by CarMax. Shopping for a car can be kind of a big deal, but at CarMax, you can shop and buy on your own terms, online, in-store, or any combination of the two. And you even have 30 days to be sure you love your car, or you get your money back. So shop with confidence and find your perfect fit at CarMax. Tap the banner, click on this episode's page, or visit CarMax.com to learn more. 1,500-mile limit on 30-day money-back guarantee. See CarMax.com for details.
Tired of dealing with the same old lumpy mattress and pillows? Catch some sleep and save on Z's. With Casper's Memorial Day sale, you can save up to $800 on any of our award-winning mattresses. It's a summer dream come true. That's right, you can get up to $800 off Casper's amazing mattresses, like the Wave Hybrid Snow Mattress. For more info, go to Casper.com or a store near you. The sale ends June 7th, so hurry over soon. Exclusions apply. See Casper.com/promo for more info.
now not only is he aged, but I've aged, and so I can play him different now than
He
when he
grew in.
killing everybody. Like, that was his character. So I don't know if you guys remember him at the very beginning with Michael, the other actor. I can't remember his brother, who he ends up chaining to the roof. Like,
That's his own hand, though.
yeah, it's just so cool to see him grow, and it's cool to see him do video games. So I'm excited for. I'm not excited for Death Stranding 2, but I am excited. I'm excited to be excited. If that makes sense.
Let me ask you this. Is there something about the gameplay that you could put your finger on? Like, if they changed
Michael
one
Rooker,
thing,
if they changed one thing, would I want to play it?
like, it would cause you to be more interested? Or significantly more interested?
Time, but it's like I'm not an idiot. Like, I can tease it and say I hate it and say it's a bad game.
Yeah, we
but
can talk
everybody
about pop music. and
Everybody
shit on
knows
it,
I'm
but-
joking when I say like it's a bad game. It's obviously when I see that many people like it, I don't have it. I'm like, okay, that didn't hit me, and I'm okay with that. I'll tease it to no end because I still don't understand why people like it, but I do get it. And but no, nothing did. If something pops up though, maybe a little less out there. I know that sounds weird, but remember when they were like, you could pee in the water, and then the babies in, all this stuff. And they were sort of playing the
You can pee where other people online pee that grows mushrooms. and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
So to me, I would rather see them less
You can also pee to scare away the
less
ghost
screwy,
things.
if that makes sense. Less screwy and more like, here's something tangible that I can. Because I'm not really into the mystery box Kojima. Metal Gear was fine, but the more he goes, the more it goes out of its way, it's got to pull me back at some point. So we'll have to see. Let's see. I'm okay with the Saints Row art style. Oh, people are talking about Saints Row. Yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. Well, we can move on. Death Stranding. Anybody in chat, if you have any questions about Death Stranding, we can always go back for it. But overall, number 2's coming. So if you love Death Stranding, something is happening. I know. He added races though, didn't he? In the DLC, they added full-on like races and stuff into Death Stranding. So who knows what they'll do? Like it could be pretty weird. Let's talk about Saints Row. Does anybody care?
Yes, kind of like I care generally about things in the world that I don't know much about. Yeah,
A little bit.
it's like
a little bit.
there's something there. It could be
level
cool.
theory.
It's in my radar, but I'm not like, having my people talk to other people based on.
Like, yeah, your people need to talk to my people so I can cover Saints Row. That's not what you're doing.
Yeah.
What about you guys? What about Silver? Saints Row, what we're seeing?
I haven't seen anything, any of it.
Okay, well, that is there you go. What about you, Reg?
I've
Wow.
also seen nothing new.
Okay. Let me tell you guys real quick what they're
Yeah.
doing. They've made it a point that they're removing most of the craziness, and that's a problem for me.
Yeah,
And they're-
that's
Wasn't
what
that
they
the selling
established
point?
themselves.
That's what they established
Pretty much.
themselves on, and what I have seen has been the blandest looking game that's open world. It reminds me of Agents of Mayhem, where you could tell that it's almost like somebody got scared with the customization and craziness of
I don't
Saints
think
Row,
Bob's
so
moving.
all the stuff afterwards that are involving the same people or the same companies, they've gone completely the opposite way, and they're trying to almost make, like, maybe not serious, but remove all that craziness, and what we're getting is the blandest looking shooter I think I've seen in years. Like, I've watched those trailers multiple times. I've watched the developer interview, watched the behind the scenes for making, and it looks like a free-to-play game, if that makes sense. You know how some free-to-play games, some are out there. Genshin Impact is like, people look weird, and big boobs or whatever, wings.
Yep.
But then some don't do anything special. You could close your eyes and say this is World of Warcraft because it looks like its art style is identical. That's what Saints Row is looking like to me. There's no identifier for it.
I get the feeling that Volition may have sort of been a victim of their own success in that
You think so?
they went so over the top with Saints Row 4
Right.
with like the superpowers and everything else in that game that they basically are reduced to how are we ever going to top that? Like how are we ever going to go beyond that? That's not going to be possible at all.
I think
Maybe there's an element of that. I don't know.
No, yeah. I mean, I thought Saints Row 1 was jokey, but obviously way pulled back from 2, 3, 4, 5, Go to Hell, all those games, right? I wouldn't mind more of a 1 where they had Michael Rooker and they had all those, not Michael Rooker, Michael Rappaport, all those guys doing it, but it doesn't look like that. It looks like generic, and everything's like, even their trailer just showed different versions of the same characters. It's like that free-to-play customization. Palette swap. It's like, it's almost like you're in Photoshop and just, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's sad because I love Saints Row and I do think they could do some stuff, but it feels like they're nervous, man. I mean, we are in a politically weird world right now. Maybe they're so nervous they don't think they're Rockstar games where they might be able to get away with something. Maybe they're just that nervous about having stuff that is considered something somebody may have a social
People in chat are
Yeah, go
missing the dildo from the melee weapon dildo from other games.
Yeah, it is weird too.
Saints Row
That
3 and 4.
Saints Row 3, it is weird too that they've made a point, just so you guys know, of saying that's a point where they're like, we definitely won't have that in the game. And you're like,
Yeah, that's why I brought it up, because that to me is weird.
it is.
The fact
It
that
is.
that stands out as, because nowadays it's polarizing, it's difficult, right? But
Right.
sexuality isn't one of those things that's actually difficult, because everybody's pretty progressive nowadays with that sort of
Yeah.
stuff. Like on whatever side of the political
Fear you may follow.
spectrum you are, but it's interesting.
I don't know. That motherfucker.
It's sad, man. It's sad because it does. It feels like, it would be like Duke Nukem not cussing, not showing the one-liners, and them pointing out that that's why it's going to be good. It's almost a little bit like saying, if you liked our old stuff,
I get that feeling. That's what
we
it
don't
was.
want. I don't want to say it that way because that is opening up a whole can of worms. But it feels like it's like, oh, we're better than that, or oh, that was cool back then. But it's like there's still 14-year-olds who do think that's cool. You know what I mean? Like It's almost like when you get
How'd you
older,
like
you can't think
it?
what it was like to be younger. So you're like, we're all
Underrated,
mature.
I
It's
like
like, no,
the
we're not.
continuation of my
No, we're
physical
not. Some
therapy,
people are
but
going to
you know,
love
the fact
a
that
dildo back.
on the loose.
They're going to think it's the great thing in the world, the greatest thing in the world. And we do see multiple companies sort of shying away from this stuff. I think it is a scary time for a company. They're very nervous about doing that kind of stuff. And, you know, because there are campaigns. I mean, we see them. We see campaigns for the crate. We've seen campaigns. Remember, the one company didn't do Chinese translations for one of their Steam games, and like
Yeah.
they got, you know, because Steam. Let's be honest. Steam's review system is completely broken, untrustworthy, should never be used. Is still up and running. I firmly believe that. I absolutely think that's
Twilight
broken
Zone?
and in no way, shape, or form accurate.
Really?
And currently, the ability for somebody to review bomb that
Oh my god.
and put campaigns out for that just goes to show how easy it is to manipulate them.
There's no restriction, right?
other
You
things
could
need
play
to-
400 hours of a game and give it a terrible score.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. We're in a weird spot for a Saints Row game. I think GTA, those guys just get lucky. They're too big, right? They're or not too big, but because they get hit with the crunch, don't they? Doesn't Rockstar get hit with crunch reports a lot of times where people are like, yeah, working there has got a lot of crunch. I
Yeah,
guess
I mean,
there's
there was tons of crunch on Red Dead 2.
yeah. Johnny, I'm sorry. I think I was interrupting you.
oh no, don't worry. A bit of a tangent, but since you mentioned that thing with the Steam reviews, it's funny because I've heard from a lot of people that they use that as their primary review system. So when they're looking for a score or like how good a game is or if it's worth picking up, I actually know like a couple people who specifically look at Steam reviews versus even like full-on video reviews and stuff.
I know people who believe the world's flat, though.
But you're right. There's no restriction or there's nothing that.
But I mean, I
Right.
also use Steam reviews a lot to like look at games, but I don't look at the score. Like I look at what people
Right,
write
that's the
online.
context of it. You know what you need to do, Reg, for me? I'll pay you. Figure out a way to use the API to make a word cloud of the reviews. You know what I mean? Those word clouds. So if you
Oh,
see
nice.
tech issues pop up as the main one, do you get what I'm saying? So if it says, if you hit the button and the word cloud says no Chinese translation, then a person could look and be like, okay, no, because I do word clouds for my own reviews. I'll do the review and then I'll grab the Google Translate and I'll go, did I repeat myself? Did I, what's the main thing? You can do it with your comments as well. So if the comments come up and you see one comment coming up, like you forgot the rating, as I've done in the past, I'll be like, whoa, I need to, that's some info. With Steam reviews, I would love a word cloud. It would be so useful to just hit a button and go,
Yeah.
And
But sometimes you scroll down and you look at the negative reviews, and everyone has, like, say, for example, GPU problems with the
Yep.
game.
Yep.
You're like, okay, well, that's
or
a
the
legit
word
problem.
recently. That happens in mobile reviews all the time. 5-star mobile reviews. You're like, I'm gonna get this game. You hit to get the game, and the fucking last 55 recent reviews are all 1. And there'll be like money, microtransactions were added, whatever. If you did a word cloud, you might be able to see those. Do a word cloud for Relevance. That's not real. Is that a right word?
Relevance?
Relevance. Thank you.
Yeah, probably.
I switched my
Yeah.
consonants. Do one for that. Do one for time. Have the ability to see those. I think, and we're going to talk about Metacritic because I don't know if you guys saw that link I posted, and we'll just drive directly into this. So we were covering Saints Row, then we were talking about reviews and Steam. Let's talk about Metacritic.
Good.
So,
By the way, I
let's
was
not.
just Googling for your suggestion, and it's a user script that exists.
Nice.
Whoa, can you pop that? Can you DM that to me, please?
Yep.
That's fucking fantastic. I'll cover that in the next podcast. That's fantastic.
That's awesome.
That's the most amazing thing. Okay.
We should make an app out of that, Rich. We'll make a mobile
Dude, I'm
app
telling
out
you, I'll
of that.
pay you guys. So here's something I wanted to talk about, and I want to see what everybody thinks about this. But basically, Saber's CEO was doing an interview and basically said the days of Metacritic determining how well a game sells are long gone. 2 things to this. 1, I didn't know Metacritic really impacted sales. What I mean by that is I know they impacted bonuses for companies, but I wasn't aware that how much, and I don't know if there's even a real way to correlate, because I've seen some shit games do amazingly
I've
well
seen some shit
sales-wise for
games.
years. But he's saying this as well, saying that the days of Metacritic's that score being a thing has gone away. We've talked about Game Pass, right? PlayStation's now going to have demos and streaming. Steam reviews are there, and then you have all these other different ways of getting games, marketplaces, and all this. Would you guys agree? Did you guys ever think Metacritic made a big? Did you guys ever think a low Metacritic score actually made a huge impact in sales? I guess I did. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, well, huge and huge. I thought it made
it's not a
some
great word.
impact, but I thought certainly that the conventional wisdom in the industry was that there was a significant effect.
Some type of correlation.
And that this was a large sort of conventional wisdom within the industry and held among sort of mainstream corporate boards or whatever, which is sort of the principle behind why they tied it to bonuses.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. What were you gonna say, Reg?
I don't know personally, but I don't think it did, because you also had very high-ranked games, high-rated games that did not do well.
Yeah.
So I think it was more like word of mouth, maybe advertisements that had a much bigger impact than any like average scores.
Yeah, but then you can make the argument whether your word of mouth and so forth are in part fueled by the Metacritic as well.
But wouldn't word of mouth also have pushed the good games that didn't sell well?
Yes.
Not necessarily.
So you think
Agreed.
Do you think a bad user score might impact sales more than a good user score on Metacritic? Not user score, I'm sorry, Metacritic score. Okay, so you're thinking that it's possible.
Especially because, I mean, it's also a huge part of game branding, or it's been that way.
It has.
Like you look at like the Steam score
Accolade
page
trailers.
and stuff, and it's right there a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Like how movies will market themselves on their IMDb rating.
Right.
Similar to that.
Right. And maybe
it's been a huge part of that.
And maybe because a bad rating is just stopping you from buying, where a good rating not only needs to be good, but also force you to spend money. There's probably less of a chance for those two steps to occur for you to buy a game versus the one step of seeing a horrible score.
You see, it's a podcast, gaming
I think it
podcast.
is less that, this game is a 10 on Metacritic, I'm gonna go buy it, than it is, this game is 60 on Metacritic.
You know what? That's a valid.
I don't speak Spanish
That's a
that
valid
well.
point because there is two steps.
I
to
speak
the Go ahead,
Spanglish.
Reg.
No, I'm
You guys
just
are
wondering
going
how
way
many,
fast.
like, what
Buongiorno.
percentage of purchasers even look at review scores at all.
Hello,
I
how
don't
are
think
you?
it's a high percentage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ecco, si sta.
It depends on what you
Leggendo.
mean by review scores.
Ma pegno c'è non capisce
Yeah, but if
proprio
you're talking, if they
l'italiano
actually
sì,
go
yeah,
to Metacritic
Italian.
to look up the game.
Buongiorno.
I agree.
My
But
father's
if you
Italian.
Go to the store page, and the Metacritic
Hey.
is right there.
Yeah.
I'm half
It is
Italian.
on
My
Steam,
father
right?
is from
Is
Rome.
it on
Roma.
Epic?
Oh yeah.
Umberto Venturelli.
Does Epic add? Oh, okay. Yeah.
Thank you for
so
stopping
those are all
it.
good points. And does Xbox, does PlayStation? Because if they are all doing the internet,
Well, right
moving
now we're in
database kind
Hawaii,
of,
but where I'm
platinum
from,
certificate
I
score
moved
kind
from
of
Miami
thing,
Beach.
then that would.
My
I can
father
see
was
that
from
being a
Rome,
thing,
and my
because
mother
definitely
is
Steam, I mean, it's right there,
Anglo,
you know, a
mixed with
badge
Native
right there
American
telling
Indian.
you Where it rated. That's
I
Italian.
totally forgot that Steam includes it directly.
Molto bon.
But I still do.
That's why I put
believe
Italian. I should speak
that
more
it is
Italian, but
possible that a good rating
most of the people
has
in
a
my
harder
family,
time
besides my father and
because
my
of the
mother's
money.
family, they're all American
Like
white people.
one's easy. It's bad. I'm not buying
Bene
it.
posso
There is no
dinero
yeah,
dormire
but Steam reviews,
felice
Steam allows
ora.
a return.
I don't know what that
So
means. It
are
could be
we-
something
is
good or
maybe
bad.
that's what he's saying,
Interesting.
too, is
Yeah,
that
it is
was-
interesting.
maybe he was
My
just talking about
grandmother
Metacritic,
was
but when they look at
French
returns now
mixed
are
with
more
Choctaw
viable on Steam.
Indian, and my
Maybe-
father is from Rome. Was from Rome. But
I think it's also just that alter.
it's a part of the chair.
alternative
So
media has just
actually a
become
couch.
prevalent
So like you
today.
know the ends of a couch.
Like YouTubers,
So this would be one side,
everything else that
and then there's another one. Then there's a
is
couch,
less of a
and then there's
factor
another side.
than it's
So it had
ever
like
been.
a
Get much like
bunch of kind of like
mainstream media
grime from people putting
in
you know
general is
the
less of a
arm,
factor than it has
and then
been
you clean
traditionally.
And you know
this
why
off. I
that
use these
makes sense,
special.
dude? I was looking at a video. It's very easy to become accustomed. So
Can't
we
really
have
see
like
it. It says
500,
crocodile.
1,000
It's
people
for
watching the
auto
podcast, and it's
mechanics.
easy to think
So
500, 1,000.
yeah, it's
But
for
then you
chair.
realize if you put
So I
1,000
work at
people
a
in
furniture
fucking
restoration place, and so I do all the
laboratory,
sanding and
you'd be
preparation work.
impressed. You'd be like, dude, that's
It
1,000
is
people.
exactly
But I have reviews that have hit 1 million.
206.
So the idea that 1 million people saw that versus
Yeah, so you guys are 12 hours
So yes,
ahead,
I
I
can see
believe.
where YouTube
In-
and
in,
those
Italy.
kind of reviewers,
Fucking
then they
cool,
matter
man.
more.
Wish I could
because
go there.
That's a massive.
I want to go to
number
Italy. I have
of
I have
people
Zia in
who are
Italy.
Checking out that
Two.
thing.
I have
And I
three
think
Zia
that's
in
also why-
Italy and
that's
2
also why
cousins
companies like streamers
in Italy.
because streamers don't give reviews.
I talk to them
And
sometimes
it's-
on
I mean, not to be,
Facebook.
I mean, I'm talking to huge streamers right now on Twitch behind the scenes about what they do, how they deal
So
with
yeah,
it,
I got this
how I
to
deal with
do.
stuff. They're,
I got
top
these
streamers.
chairs over here.
And it is dramatically different what
So
they
those
can
chairs,
say and what they
if you
do
see the
say
ones in the bottom, I have to
versus
take a
what
razor
they
blade
say.
and shave, take off the
Yeah,
varnish
that makes
there. I
sense.
already did those
I
top
get it.
2 ones.
I get where you're coming from.
And
It's a
then
big deal. I think it's
I have
really
to
like
do these chairs.
AI to figure all this shit out.
Got to clean those.
Because I feel like there's too many
I just did a big
variables to
couch
figure out
before.
what matters more and what's impacted some more.
I
It's a
was
good-
married
I mean, it's
to
good
a
thought
girl from
process.
Serbia.
I missed a couple super chats. I'm gonna hit them real quick, and then
But she's
we'll,
in New York now.
close this
She's-
up and go to the next bit.
She's rich and famous in New
Alright.
York, and I'm
So
poor
we got a
working in
super
a
chat
furniture
from
factory, but I like my
Space
job.
Channel 5, $2, £2 super chat. Saints Row was stupid, but it was never malicious. That's a very good. That is
A lot of chairs, dude. Look at all
that's
this.
a good explanation of Saints Row.
Good descriptor.
Look at all this
There
furniture.
was some malicious stuff that now we consider malicious that back then wasn't considered malicious.
Look at all this. Woo!
Yeah, there was a couple things I think in
It's
Saints
like a
Row 2
mountain.
and 3 that were maybe
Surrounded by it.
anti-homosexual.
Oh, I gotta go work on all that.
Lesbian, maybe character, like stuff that you could do, but overall,
Yeah, you know, it's basically.
$5 super chat.
I was
I like
when I moved to Hawaii.
They work
In
rest.
Miami, I used
I
to
like
work at
fun-
big
I like
nightclubs
fun to sleep
in
if
Miami
you're
Beach,
walking the walk
like
videos
very
playing
big
in the
nightclubs.
background.
All
I
the
know.
famous
Playlist
DJs.
for it. Hey man, glad I can put you to sleep.
So then when I moved here,
That sounds
I
terrible.
was working like in
Is that a
banquets.
compliment or-
It is a compliment, but I
I
see
was a
those
bar
kind of things a
back,
lot of
did
times
some
'cause people love it, and I'm
bartending
like,
work, but then the COVID stuff
Rahan's
hit,
$2 super chat. So I'm
and I
hearing
stopped
Steve
doing
needs
that. But
to
I was
go
also
see
doing like
CG
side
reviews. They
jobs
do if
because I
review
put an ad in the
it, you
paper.
should see it.
So this is like one of the side jobs that I would do.
What are you laughing
Plus, I
about?
also worked on the sailboat yachts.
Do you not think I'm not on Steam?
So
I'm
almost
just
all
above
my jobs
Metacritic.
stopped
I
happening
wait
when the
for
COVID
it.
happened.
never look at
So
those.
I just was doing
Oh,
this
yeah.
one, and it became like my
Never,
full-time
ever.
job. So I work there now,
No, I
like
get
6
that.
days a week.
I get that as red
Sometimes
sheet.
I've been starting to do like little extra jobs. Like I just worked at a warehouse
All
job.
right, what else do we got here?
I might put my ad back in the
we had a
paper.
ton of news. What was
Because
the
I could
other
do
big
like,
news?
you
Let's
know,
talk about
different
AAAs.
type labor jobs. I just don't want to go
Gearbox,
back to
20
working in nightclubs
Gearbox
or
has
restaurants or
7 to
whatever,
8
that kind of stuff.
AAAs. Embracer has 25 AAAs.
Yeah, of course. It's called rattan.
Gearbox listed
So it's
Sorry, man,
rattan
25,
is
so
kind of
25
similar
and a half or something.
to like
25 and a
bamboo.
half AAAs,
Bamboo is more
and
strong.
we don't know what their
So
money
bamboo is
amount
like a
is for
grass
their
fiber,
AAAs, which I think is a
to
viable
tell the truth.
thing.
And rattan is actually
mentioned.
made of
So we're
vines.
looking at this,
So they
though.
have these machines, and they
20,
kind of steam the
let's say- so that's a
vines,
total, let's say
and they
30.
wrap it
What do you guys think, 15
around this
coming in
round things, and they form the
2023,
furniture
or do you
that
think we're
way.
going to see some of these in 2022?
So yeah,
When they're super
comes from
spaced
like,
out, it's like 25
Indonesia mostly.
till-
Some in the
26.
I
Philippines.
thought it's 27. I thought I saw
Raga, le
27
cosce
in there, yeah.
sono
Yeah,
due,
we know
o
Embracer
devo
said
davvero
27 for sure. Embracer's
rispettivare
dropped it. Dude, I
il
don't think
mio
that's many.
inglese o
Like,
non lo
27 just
sento
5
bene
years.
con la
That's almost as
radio
long as I've been
sotto
doing YouTube.
ahaha.
So it's like
How was that?
the
Oh,
entire
entrambe.
So,
I
if
can
you
make
look
it.
at,
I can almost sound Italian.
25 or 30 AAAs spread
My
out.
wife was from Serbia. She was like, "Well, you speak Serbian like
One every
Croatian."
3 months. I think
Or actually
you're about right,
Slovenian.
about one every 3 months.
'Cause
if they
no,
were
not
released
Slovenian.
perfectly, right? Which they
Well,
won't.
they speak like the similar
That's not bad
language:
for just a
Croatian,
well, I say
Slovenia,
companies, but Gearbox, not everybody. Put it in Embracer. Gearbox
Serbia,
bought like a company.
Montenegro. They all
Another thing
speak
on that
like versions
is that
of Serbian.
Embracer was talking
But
about
she
Tomb
said I
Raider.
sounded more like
Very excited
Croatian.
to do projects for Tomb Raider, including remakes and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's okay. Oh, so I watched
And
this guy that
I found it interesting that they
I
were.
don't remember his
they're
name.
talking
He's
about
a streamer
remakes.
that I know from one of my other
Because,
friends. He's
I mean,
Italian. He's
recent
pretty
games-
funny. So when he comes into my
No
friend's
remakes are
chat,
good.
I guess they're
my
like
friend has
reboots,
a
right?
stream
Yeah,
called.
well,
His name's Altered Avatar. One word. Altered
Yeah,
Avatar.
Kind of
So the Italian guy who also streams, he comes in there and he communicates using Google Translate. So he'll say something into the Google Translate and then put it into chat. It's pretty, actually works pretty good, but I just thought he was trying to speak English. So I went to his chat and his game, he was playing
I mean,
What was he playing? He was playing the game where you have a car and you're hitting a soccer ball. I forget what it's called. But he was speaking only Italian, and then he used Google Translate to talk with me, and I was trying to speak a little bit of Italian,
I'm talking about
whatever.
taking the old games and remaking them without quality of life, which is what we have got from
It's okay. I should learn
I mean,
English.
we
I would like to
can,
learn Italian though someday. I mean, I could probably try it. You know, you have to learn a language. You got to watch the TV. Maybe move to the place where you live. Want to speak. I could speak. So if I was because I lived in Miami for so long, if I was in like a place where people only spoke Spanish, I could communicate with them.
I thought that was pretty good. Like they basically took all the gameplay elements of like
Because like in Miami Beach or Miami, you go into a lot of places they don't speak English at all. Like if you go into a little store, they don't speak any English, so you have to speak some kind of Spanish. Also, if you work in a hotel or a restaurant, a lot of
I think it's a secret that we mentioned
tourists from
all
like
the
Central and South
ways
America, like
around,
Venezuela,
yeah.
Colombia, Mexico, some a little bit, but people with money, they don't even want to try to speak English. And so like when they look at me, they would think I was Hispanic. So they would automatically start speaking Spanish, and I'm not going to be like, oh, only speak English. But I wanted to get their money. So yeah, I'll learn some Spanish.
The next gen demasters or whatever.
All right, look at how dirty that one
It
is.
is quite funny though to me that if they do it again,
That's very
like this
dirty.
will be
So
like I don't know.
like
the
all
first
this
reboot
dirt
of Tomb
marks
Raider
here.
now, if they reboot it again,
try to avoid sanding the
after
furniture.
this trilogy.
I don't even know English well. In fact, I'm going on with the keyboard translator but it's entertaining. So yeah, but it's coming out good. Your translator's working well. Translator, but it's entertaining me, so I keep watching. Yeah, but it's good.
Rarely have celebrity.
I'm impressed by how well that is. Keyboard translator, I want to get that.
Absolutely.
Is it? What is it?
She
Is it?
took over, Tomb Raider,
So
I
it's
think,
on
now
your
turned out
keyboard,
I
huh?
actually think
Wow,
it
this is better than
works.
Google Translate.
In my brain, she looks like the character. She sounds like she's like.
She's the best Lara.
I mean, that looks like
That's what I feel.
that looks exactly
really think that voice
how
acting
it would be written in English. Because
is
sometimes
right.
they put it in.
And she even said when she was doing the
They
voice
put it
acting,
in
she
translate
thought it
because,
sounded
like for example,
Torture
when you say
because they were like, you have to record yourself getting-
when you
she's
say
like,
a sentence in Spanish,
but
it's
as
backwards
she
from
learned the character,
from
those
English.
were like the first requirements.
So
She
they don't
learned
put
the
it right,
character.
so it
She's
comes out all
invested
messed
in it.
up.
Even though, let's be honest, I don't think she would ever.
So like
touch a
all
piano.
this nasty,
I
dirty
have
stuff
never heard
here,
her
that's
say,
when
"I'm
people
okay,
put their hands on there,
And I
and then
think
the
that's awesome,
varnish
too, when you get a
gets
new person
like
and you're
melted
like
into with
Norman
that
Reedus,
dirty
for
hand
example,
stuff.
who's not in-
So, like,
who's
the,
not into games and then is embracing them and
Yeah.
like,
Worst
holy
case
shit,
scenario,
this is a whole
I could
thing
either
we
razor
can
blade
do,
it off,
like an interactive thing that no one's ever thought of. I
So
just can't
I
wait
could
till
use
we
some
get a
razor
Norman
blades
Reedus,
and-
Camilla Luddington, FMV, fucking
or
detective
I
game.
clean it,
Contradiction
and then
too,
sometimes it comes off.
starring
If it
those
doesn't
guys.
come off,
Like, that's
I gotta
when-
either sand
that's
it
when we'll be hitting it off.
or razor blade.
So,
you know, like-
what are some AAA, like, what do you guys want to see from? Would you want to see a no? Would you want
Yeah,
to see a
listening to a
Destroy All
gaming
Humans 3 that
co-
was like
I'm listening to a
now, like
yes, it is Google
Just
Keyboard. Okay,
completely
that has the
original now.
integrated
Is that a
translator
AAA, you
directly
guys?
choose
'Cause I don't
language
consider
right
Destroy All
in
Humans
this
a
case
AAA
Italian,
series.
and he translates it to you.
Deus Ex.
Translates it as you write. Very useful. It comes out really good.
Deus Ex is definitely AAA.
You know what? Their computer intelligence is getting pretty smart. Sooner or later, you won't be able to know if it's a person or not. See, this thing always breaks.
Like an animated sort of cartoon style to it.
I don't like it because I'm afraid that the razor blade's gonna stick me.
Like Mars Attacks vibes.
Yeah, that would be cool if they. That would be cool if they took more of the Mars, even the look and the vibe of that.
dangerous.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah, like almost burden.
But anyway, so like this one,
Um,
I would try to
looking
clean it
through here,
first.
I just want to pop off some of the people who've been here. Rahaz has been here.
See,
forever.
that one came
Great
out
Vape is in
already
here.
really clean.
Keto Dude has been here since the start.
So that
Grill-
came pretty clean already. You can see how it
Grill I haven't seen in
comes
chat in a
off
while,
pretty
man.
fast.
You've been,
There's the dirt
been
on it.
ignoring us, bro. Yeah, exactly.
Um,
yeah, I don't know what his deal is. Whatever. He doesn't
But
know
if
his
this I can't get off,
let's see. We got
if
Siri
I can't
D,
get this part off up
Cisco,
here, you
Mad
can't see that.
Clown, Dylan J. We always
So
have
we're
Dan
see
Owen,
how like
always
those
in here.
spots?
Case
That's the wood underneath. This is like the
Absent
grime
was
from
in
people
here, but I
putting their
think his
hands on it.
non-space
You can
Channel
feel it
5's
sticky.
Been here since the start. SBZ. Just reading some various
Okay,
names
bye,
here.
brother.
I miss you.
Thanks
Doesn't
for
mean I don't love
checking,
you.
stopping in.
I don't. But Sterling
I
W,
my F5.
Cole-
I like watching you
Cole
working,
the
but I
Dog,
have to
number
go
7.
sleeping. Good continuation. See you soon. Yeah, stop back by.
Dylan B.
Also, guys,
I'm
so
the
I
Devil
stream
Day.
basically all day long. In the
Robert
daytime,
Dresser.
I do my job
That's terrible.
streaming,
Okay.
in the my nighttime, I play games on I stream gaming with my friends. Yeah, stop back by, guys. So check out my schedule in my stream, and you can see what I'm doing. If you like the IRL, I do that during the day, 6 days a week. At night, after I get off work, I'm gaming. Right now, we're playing this game they're talking about. It's a vampire game. Just came out, and then I do like an overnight when I'm sleeping. I put like a ASMR stream on. But thank you for stopping by. I really appreciate it.
Planetscape 2? Did Planetscape 2 do that? PlanetSide.
Yes.
I will pass to watch other lives. Thank you, brother. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys coming in. I'm happy that Italians came and visited me because that's why I put it there. Sometimes I put other countries, but Italian has always been there.
The natural selection mod.
Right. True.
Between like aliens and
Viva
like,
Italia!
sort of colonial marines, where you had one
Viva
player who was sort of the
Italia!
general for either side, and then build
Molto
structures and organize stuff.
They also had a second game.
For each faction. Correct. That came out. It started as a mod, and then it was made into a.
Anyway, my name is Maya, and I am a girl. What's your name, if I may ask? My real name is Corey. So my father changed it when he moved from Italy. His real last name was Venturelli, Venturelli, Venturelli. But he married like a rich lady that her parents didn't like his name, I guess. That's the story, whatever. So he changed it to Vincent. I want to change it back to Venturelli because it's a real name. Vincent's not a real name. Like in high school, people are like, Vincent. I'm like, my name is Corey. My last name is Vincent. So it should be Corey Venturelli, but it's Corey Vincent. But Genghis Fly is my gaming name.
Directing troops isometrically, and then you could go down and take.
My father's name was Humberto Venturelli. Humberto.
Aim their guns.
This is my grandfather's name was Humberto. Well, my great-grandfather was
That's
Humberto.
what eventually became, I think,
So he was Humberto the second.
the Valor series.
Corey is an Irish
There's a
name,
lot. There's
actually.
a lot of cool games that allow it.
But nice to meet you, Maya.
And of course, Arma 3 with suits.
Maybe you could say,
That's what it
maybe you
was.
guys could say
That's
hello
what
to
I'm
my
saying.
aunts in
That was
Italy.
a mod. That was their add-on, right? The Zoo, like was a DLC. It might have been free, but Zeus, yeah.
Free.
Yeah, see.
I
Well, like I said, I
just
also game in
personally
the.
think that
Nice to
kind of
meet you.
stuff is what we are
I
missing.
also
So,
do
like a
gaming in
Savage
the
Dragon, I
evening,
love
but
the
I don't have a
idea
webcam for my
of
gaming
a
yet. I'll
person
probably get a
people
webcam
getting
next
to
week.
switch
I game
and
from my
move
laptop,
that
so
zoomed out view all the
I don't
way,
have a
you know, like
webcam
World
set
of
up.
Warcraft
I just
does it,
started
right?
using a
There was
microphone
RTS,
actually
yeah,
on my
StarCraft,
gaming
where you
part.
scroll in, but you couldn't get all the
Yeah,
way.
nice to meet you also.
But
Nice to
the
meet all of
idea
you.
In the future, what if somebody said, "Here's StarCraft. You're playing at RTS."
Italian
but
people
then
are
somebody
nice
just
people.
zooms
In
their
general,
camera
the ones
over
that
and
I've
now
met
they're
from
on
Italy
the map.
are always nice people.
And maybe that
My
guy
best friend in
becomes a
high
leader
school,
of that area,
Massimiliano
get
Borghese,
some bonuses as
he
AI, but
he's
you're
still
also
my
able
best
to
friend,
fight,
but I don't.
so
I
that's
only
next
talk to him
level.
on
That's
Yep.
awesome.
on
Agreed.
Facebook. But he owns a restaurant now, and he's all married, has a wife. But I used to hang out with him all the time, and he would try to teach me Italian.
And gas stripes and stuff like that.
Any other AAAs?
Falcon Mix 77E says, "I'm going to sleep. Good job, and see you next time." Okay, Papa. Ciao.
But it is coming.
Ciao.
Gearbox has a good number. Anybody in chat, if you have any Gearbox
Yeah,
stuff.
World War 3 is one of
I hope
them.
the radio's
Is
not
that
too
a
loud.
AAA homeworld, right? We would consider
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Maybe,
Yeah, I think so.
maybe not Desert Sakara, even though it had my name. I don't think that one had the same. You know, it wasn't homeworld. It was homeworld because you were stuck on the ground.
Now I really go to sleep. Arrivederci.
Yeah, 3 is the
Arrivederci.
original. I think that'll be awesome.
Have a good night's sleep.
So yeah, so you've got.
Thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate it.
DSX. I personally
Make my day
believe
good.
It's time to go find.
I was a
what is
little
it,
bit
Warren
lonely.
Spector, wherever he is. Is it
Arrivederci.
the original for Deus Ex, right, Silver?
Yeah, he is.
It would be awesome if they were like, listen, we're going to give you the budget. Let's
Iron Storm.
Let's do this. Let's do Deus Ex like the first one, but like the technology of today. I would fucking kill. Do they own Ken Levine's? Ken Levine is independent. Okay, so yeah, he's independent. Who else does Gearbox own? Bought a couple companies. Embracer.
I mean, Ken Levine's was irrational. I actually
Yeah,
know
he dissolved that. It's
I don't.
dissolved.
Oh, it's completely dissolved now.
Yeah, it's completely dissolved, and I think it's like, I mean, lately I've been following some of the stuff he's been doing. It's all been like GDC talks, and so I haven't really seen much. Molyneux was last seen scamming people. Yeah, we don't.
Sadly, that is what a lot of sort of the old titans that we grew up with are sort of doing, from Sid Meier to
It is.
Will Wright.
Almost consultant kind of stuff, where it's like,
Yeah.
you know, and Ken gets a lot of shit. I don't know if Phil Spector ever got crap for how he led games, but, you know, Ken is more, I have no issue destroying stuff. Ken is a sculptor in a way, where he'll add some clay and remove it, and I think a
So
lot
if
of
I don't-
developers may
if
not
this
be
doesn't come
comfortable
off,
like that.
then
Because
I
Ken
use
walked in and is like, I don't like
this
this
stuff.
entire world, let's redo
Which
it.
is
And
what
people
says
are
all
like,
natural,
"What?"
but it takes
But
it takes a
to me,
little bit
that's
of
sort
the
of why
varnish
those
coating
games-
off.
I mean, whether we
So
like
I
it
try
or
not
not,
to
that's
use
why
it,
those
but
games are
it'll
considered.
take all
Actually,
this
be
off.
really curious to know Sid Meier, how much he is actually involved with Firaxis these days.
I don't know. That's true.
Civilization.
But we do have these AAA games coming from them, so you guys, whenever we hear about like AAA games, whether, you know, ignoring platform for a
I
second,
might
because
put-
I
I
don't
might
want to
put
get
this
into
on
this
here.
second platform thing. We have a ton of good big games coming. Go ahead.
When did we get Civilization 6?
That's a
Well over 3 years ago, right? I think Civilization 6 has been sitting on DLCs, and
When will Civilization 7 come around?
and what will it do? You know, like, will it just be like, what exactly will they do? I want another. What's the other Civilization that I always saw? It was you could go.
They made the new one.
You could go into you could actually go into space in this one.
That's better.
It wasn't by
Alpha Centauri was the sort of
no, it
one
wasn't the
where-
same company. It was
Oh,
the
that was so good.
not Rise. Is it Rise of Empires? There was a game that you could start low.
That also was a game. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's not what I'm thinking. I think that's not the term. There was an RTS where you started just like Civ, you do all that stuff, and then you, not Galactic Civ, which is a good game. Come on, guys, help me in chat. You guys, come on. It's like Civilization, but you could progress to full-on space technology. Rise of Nations, Beyond Earth. I think it's Beyond Earth. You know what? It doesn't matter. There's 5 games people have already dropped. So one of those. We'll just say. Yeah, it's cool, man. Got a lot of cool stuff coming from those guys. Empire Earth, thank you. Isendur is the star of the chat today. Empire Earth is the game. Thank you very much. Feels good when somebody reminds you of the thing you've been
I don't think I
thinking
ever played it in the space station that game.
Well, put a mask, 'cause this stuff-
Yeah, I think it was just
This
spaceships
stuff's,
around the
it's not
planet,
chemical,
but I do
but it's kinda
remember
stinky.
it was that next step, Silver. Like the next, it wasn't just, hey, we're a spacefaring age. It was like, we're going to show you, and it was such a good feeling. Anything else from Embracer or from Gearbox that you guys want to see? Would you guys want to see something done Borderlands that wasn't shooter, like a full-on
But
RPG?
honestly, when I read how many AAA's Borderlands,
See, there you go.
Gearbox was producing, I was like, that's a lot of Borderlands.
Yeah.
So I hope that's there's more different stuff in
Would you
there.
guys play a Wasteland 3 style Borderlands game? Because I would. I think a Wasteland 3 Borderlands.
Yeah, I was actually going to say, like, they could do an RPG.
Yeah.
Like, with Borderlands.
I think that'd be great.
Could also make, like, did you guys ever play, like, one of the very first games Gearbox ever did was a kind of, I think they actually modded, like, Half-Life into Gunman Chronicles as, like, a first-person shooter.
Oh, and that was a Western space game? Was it
Kinda,
like
yeah,
Cowboys?
yeah, yeah, a little bit, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
I do remember that. That's ancient, man. That's a long time ago. That brings back some memories. I did own that game too. Star Trek. Who owns Star Trek? Does Borderlands own Star Trek? Jesus.
CBS, I mean, CBS owns Star Trek.
But
so
who's been
I
doing
don't-
the Star
I'm not
Trek
sure who
games?
owns
The new,
CBS.
because they announced Prodigy yesterday. Did you guys see that? They announced a game based on the cartoon, the Star Trek Prodigy cartoon.
No, I did not.
Oh.
Well,
And then they got the Star Trek game that's like Telltales. I don't know who is developing / publishing those. And maybe Star Trek doesn't latch on because Cryptic does Star Trek Online. So maybe they're just maybe they shop it. Lewiston says a roguelike dungeon crawler Borderlands game. Oh, knock it off with the roguelike, man. We don't want to see. We don't. Roguelike needs to. we're done. We're done, man. I'm so done with those. Let me look at
Come
Johnny's
se
excellent chat notes.
dice
First of all, let's do
cheeseburger?
indie game action. Let's do indie
Come se
game.
dice cheeseburger?
Because you had an
Come
indie game
se
in there, didn't you?
dice cheeseburger?
I did, yeah. And to be honest, it's one of the best games I've
Cheeseburger.
played this year.
How do you say cheeseburger?
It's called Gibbon
Cheeseburger.
Beyond the Trees. It is a 2D platformer with a really, really beautiful art style where you play as a gibbon. Controls are really simple. Really, you only have 3 buttons. You have 1 button for running, 1 button for swinging through the trees, and then you have 1 button for basically somersaulting and beating
button for swinging through the trees.
in the air. Like that. And the entire game is basically you going from one end to the other in perpetual motion. The game never stops. You don't have levels with transitions. It's just one long level from beginning to end, and it lasts for about an hour or so. Like the main story mode. As you go from A to B, and you progress through these sort of chapters where things happen along the way as you make your way through
Sweet.
terrain. And I mean, the feeling you get from when you build momentum and you're swinging through the trees, it's a bit like Spider-Man, but it feels even better. Like
What game is that?
It really sort of brought back the feelings of Mirror's Edge at its best to me. Like at its most joyous, because you're just in perpetual motion and it's so fluid. Like the animation, like the way the gibbon ape is animated is so beautiful and so believable. Like its physics, its momentum, and the fluidity of how you transition from like vines to branches to vines to the ground as you slide and then jump up into the air again and grab onto it. Like the satisfaction you get from making one long fluid motion through the level is just really, really fun. Like I had a big grin on my face like 10 minutes into the game, and it stayed there for most of the game. And I really also appreciate how they actually take the mechanics of it and use that to tell the narrative they want. Because when the game starts out, it is really joyous. You're in the jungle, you're swinging from trees and whatnot. And then as you progress further and further on, there are fewer and fewer trees, and there's fewer and fewer stuff to swing from, and your margin of error suddenly starts to grow slimmer as you start encountering more urban environments and logging camps and whatnot. And so, where in the beginning you had a lot of margin for error for like missing a branch because you would be able to grab onto a branch like lower down to the ground or whatever, all of a sudden that option is no longer there. So it becomes a lot more difficult as the environment changes and sort of humanity encroaches on nature.
I was just reading some of the stuff.
The way they sort of portray that with I really, really appreciate that. It's like there is a very clear message to the game, but it does not come off as preachy, which I really appreciate.
And the major is about deforestation, right? I mean, that's what. And so deforestation makes it difficult as you progress.
Yeah, and
get better.
and gibbons being endangered as a result of deforestation and whatnot. Yeah.
Smart. That's a smart way of handling difficulty too. Like tying difficulty.
Yeah.
We rarely get games that accurately tie difficulty to, like the actual environment in a way. I gotta open up. I closed Zoom.
Yeah, and again,
I like that.
Like the way it plays out, where it's so much fun in the start because of how many options you have, and then gradually those options are taken away as a natural consequence of that progression. Like that's not something you see often in video games. That's often the inverse, where you get more options.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I like the idea of tying the difficulty into that environment changing, which is also the theme of the game. That's very cool. So that is called. What is it called?
Gibbon. It's out Beyond the Trees. It's out for Switch and PC on Steam, and it's about $10 with 30% off at launch.
Game's got insanely good reviews from a couple people I trust, though. Yeah. Well, including Silver, but I'm saying like out and about people who post reviews. Pick says, "Gotta go, guys. My girlfriend came back early, so I have to go get drunk. Thanks for the pod. You're welcome."
Huh.
Cheers, man.
A $5 super chat, a joint effort. What's one type of games you guys do not enjoy? For me, I'm not a big fan of inventory management games and survival games, which I think go hand in hand. Any games? I'm trying to think of how to word this where it's not just like I hate sports games because I know that that's it can pop up easy. Is there any full genre that you guys are not into?
Yeah, like sim racing. Never.
Okay, there we go.
God.
Because
Yes.
I think those games, it's almost like a roller coaster. You know when they say you have to be this tall to ride?
Yeah.
You have to be at least this good to enjoy a sim. Because if you don't have even the fundamentals, like you're not gonna have fun. You're gonna go off the track. And the learning isn't intuitive, I don't feel like, at least for me. So
It's funny because left side was Reg and Johnny both sort of agreeing on that. Right side Silver and I, where that's like one of our favorite genres. But here's what's funny: nothing you said is wrong. In fact, it's why I find you don't see a lot of people saying they've slowly got into sim racing.
Right.
You do see it sometimes, but most of the time people are like, that's just not for me. And it is difficult. And a car, guys, I love racing games. I have raced cars and driven cars, and I can tell you no racing game is even close to real. They're not. They're not.
You don't actually get the cheese.
You don't get the cheese, which is one of the major things. But ignoring that, adjusting in your seat around a corner and sliding a bit can completely change the entire way the game feels. So but I get it, Johnny. I hadn't thought about that, but I get it that no matter how many tutorials there are, if it's not intuitive. It can't. A sim in that way can't technically be intuitive.
And I think if I sat down with you or someone who's able to explain stuff, and we would try to break down, okay, like how does this work? What are the fundamentals of taking a turn, right? Like, getting our space and developing a feel for it, it would work. I think I would.
It would work, but I don't know if you would want to continue. Like, if you're not a gearhead anyway, that's gearhead moments at that point. If I'm talking about Apex turns, you're going to be like, dude, what the fuck? Like, who gives a shit? I'm just going around this corner.
I could learn it and it could be fun, but it wouldn't be maybe as exciting as because for you it's like shit. It's you're bringing in this passion.
I get you, and I've never thought about this. Dude, this twice now you've opened my eyes, Johnny. You are now a worthwhile member of our podcast.
Wow, I'm verified.
No, but seriously, I love Dirt 2. Dirt. I like the Dirt games, and I like them in VR, but I can tell you right now, even no matter how much I tell people they feel real or whatever, they technically do not. They never will. Like, it makes sense, man. That's a good point, dude, that no matter how intuitive a racer, it's almost like when you're good at, like when I'm good at martial arts and I'll tell somebody, oh, it's just this, and they'll be like, what? You're like,
well,
it's
for
just
you,
this.
it's like 10 years of feel. And
that's a good point. Is there anything other than them racing? What about you, Silver? Is there any, like, what's a genre?
There's quite a few. I mean, action RPGs in the vein of Diablo or Lost Ark.
ISO.
Are not my cup of tea. I just find them monotonous and boring. Like clicking all day, health potion, clicking all day, health potion, pick up some dude. I get tired of that.
Clicking, dude, get that APM up, bro.
Also, Excel sheet games. So like Universalis or stuff like that.
EVE Online,
maybe.
Reg did EVE Online, didn't he?
I've done EVE Online.
Yeah.
But
you too?
it's a weird game.
It is a spreadsheet.
It is a spreadsheet. And you don't have to play it like that, but you know that behind the scenes it is. Regardless of what you engage in that is what, and you will jump up. Your efficiency in EVE would quadrillion, like it would compound to unbelievable amounts if you embrace it. If you don't, and you're like, I'm just gonna sit my ship and just do what I see.
Yeah.
The only exception to like the spreadsheet games that I would play is Football Manager, but I haven't played that in 12.
And let's be honest, that's because football more than the managing part, right?
Kind of, yeah. And also just, yeah, the aspect of like, there's it is because it's football, but also because there's a human element to it. Because it's football, it is familiar. You know, these are players, I'm growing them as people as well. And an organization.
Yeah, but you're not out there doing like stripper manager. Okay, I don't know any other manager games.
Like shit.
Stripper manager.
Dude,
Like,
what is
listen,
what
Daisy's
Yakuza?
killing it today.
Dude, Yakuza is that, isn't it? Technically, with
That
the
is
mistress,
true,
the
yeah.
hotels.
The Yakuza
I mean,
games
that's
have
yeah.
that.
Yeah. I'll agree with Silver. Like, for sure, those are probably one of my least favorite as well. There's some I play that I love. I love Genesis, Darksiders Genesis. I thought that game was just primo.
Right.
I love Diablo 3 on console, primo. But I never gravitate towards it, ever. And like, oh, let's talk about this. So we finished that question. Let's talk about Vampire Dick Rising, D Rising, or D Rising, V Rising, whatever you call it.
Rising.
V. It's not V for.
Vagina?
It's not.
The Vampire's
No.
Rising, right?
No, bad carrot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. That game looks like utter trash when you see it on streams and stuff. So I saw people talking about it. I'm like, oh, people like this game, and I looked, and it looks terrible. But you're not the only one who likes it. So why do you like it? Why? And does it?
Okay.
Are those just bad recordings? Are the graphics amazing? Because what I saw looked bad.
Okay, so the graphics are not amazing. I think I would put them
Yeah, try to compare it.
alongside Divinity Original Sin 2, but with less polish. Because
Okay,
think that
that's
this is
fair.
an early title, early access with a smaller team. But it's that range that you
Okay.
could expect when it's at its best, okay? Here's what it does very well. The building is cool, which for me is a big part. So if you like Valheim or those kinds of games, then they grip you with, oh, you know, I want to do this project and get some mats, you know, there's that part. But then what compounds it is that the combat is actually good. It's responsive. It plays a little bit like Lost Ark or that Diablo style. And the fact that the combat feels good feeds into getting mats feeling good. So if you're a gamer like me who enjoys doing these projects like building stuff, going out and getting mats is a big part of it, right? So these runs for mats or for whatever are fun because the gameplay is good. And as you hunt more targets, because you're this vampire that's like hunting many targets, so there are like created bosses, a huge list of bosses that you hunt down, and each of them will give you either new shit you can build or new you said whatever, right? Slots makes your progression faster. It is like it puts very well together, and the aesthetics are really good. I would say so. Maybe it doesn't look, you know, like something super like the aesthetics. Yes. I'll show you some pictures later. Like some of the castles you can build, and they're fairly simple. It's not like there's anything highly complex going on, but the aesthetics are nailed. Like the big walls and the environments, you know, with big carpets and gargoyles, this
Yeah,
sort of
right.
stuff. So it's nailed, man.
I have a question.
It's good.
Here's what bothered me, and I told maybe when I was telling Reg this, maybe he hadn't bought the game at this point, but one of the things I was telling Reg that I couldn't figure out is that I thought the building, what I saw of the building was like putting buildings down, where Valheim is like you put a wall up. So, am I incorrect? Because I want a game like Valheim, where I'm building the window frame, the wall.
Okay, so you're right. Valheim is way more granular with the building.
I see.
It's also way more jank, right? As a result.
Valheim
Goes
is way
hand
more
in hand.
jank. Yeah.
Valheim is way more jank. This one is much more on rails. Does that make sense? That expression?
I get what you're saying. Is it like almost like blueprints versus?
More blueprints. So you have your walls, floors, stairs. But for example, you can't even do 2 floors. So the only way you can do a second level is you build on, let's say, a little hill, and the hill oftentimes will have like another. So the base of the hill starts here, and then there's another smaller hill on top. Let's say, like the tip of the hill, right? You can build in a way where you have a stair going up to the next level, and that once it's built, it looks like it's 2 levels.
Okay.
But in reality, you can't do elevation. You can't build a second level like you can in Valheim. So it's much more limited, which is a con, by the way. I'm not saying this is a positive.
But I get it.
But on the flip side, because it's simpler, it's not janky. So it's kind of a give and take.
Not janky.
So you're not out in the woods chopping down trees as a vampire.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, and mashing rocks, but you're also killing dudes and stuff, and you get resources from chests and stuff like that. So it's not only going and chopping trees. And the other thing is you get a fuck ton of resources. Like you chop down 2 trees, you're set for a bit. You know what I mean?
Nice.
It's not like
That's
yeah,
nice.
because
I
in
can do that.
Valheim, dude,
I know.
I went through those trees fast.
It's
I
just
don't know
like I
about you,
always joke
Garrett.
about killing an elk in a game.
Bro.
They don't have a liver for some reason. Chop a tree
Yeah.
down, and you get 2 bits of log, and
You
you're
were
like,
talking about the
seriously?
window frame?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, 2 years.
that was a
2
whole
weeks
tree.
later.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm okay with them. Oh, go ahead.
Can you enthrall people or something? Because
Yes,
generally,
actually,
you can.
great point, and I forgot to say this. You can have servants. You can name them, and they can do different tasks. Mainly,
chop the
they're
trees
used
for
for. I don't know if they can do that. Their main task, as far as I know, I only have one, and I can't fully command him yet, or her. I don't know. But you can send them to bandit camps. They will kill the bandit camps, kill whatever's there, loot it, and bring it back. So that's another way of getting resources. Scale out. Yeah. And surf with fence, so that's another way.
If you invade somebody else's castle, why not just chop all their trees so they can build shit?
Batteries regrow.
So I could go and steal somebody instead of invading them, steal their like, too fast.
And
To me, that would
you
be
can
awesome.
transform. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Go and steal their
play the
shit.
economic game.
Yeah, play the long game. You know, they're out there entering, and you're behind this. You're waiting behind the walls. They leave, chop all their trees down. Haha, bitch!
come back to a desert.
But the thing is, you're hiding mobile because you can also transform into a wolf, so you can run fast. So for you to go to another place on the map and get resources
fast.
there is not a big deal.
Okay. Reg, have you played
But
any of them?
no do manual labor as a vampire thing, though.
You said you gotta start somewhere.
Teleports down all the time. You know, I
There you go.
get you. I do get you. Reg barely played this, right?
Correct.
Like,
I was trying to run it on the Steam Deck, and it does not work on the Steam Deck.
cool. Jay Dan
But I
says,
really haven't played it yet, apart from like the opening minutes.
okay. Jay Dan says, really enjoying the podcast. Never miss it, even if I'm late. Thank you very much for always showing up. We have a new member on the YouTube channel as well, Jay Dan.
It's Jay.
It just looked like such shit without playing it, which is
The
why
melee combat looks like ass.
it looks like ass, yeah. And so, and this is what happens, right? You don't know until you play. That's why you don't know. So the idea of all this stuff sounds interesting. I thought the idea of not being able to build very granularly would suck, but your description of it being less jank is, that's why I left Valheim. Valheim was, to me, Valheim was a mess. It was more atmospheric than it was enjoyable once I started trying to put two and two together. I was just like,
Yeah, the actual stuff didn't connect.
yeah.
Like,
So
it didn't
here you're
fully-
saying that they've done the connections for you,
Yeah.
but there's also some minimization because it's early access where there's no
Say what?
second levels.
Right.
I mean, Sims 4 didn't have.
And we don't know if they're gonna add those. I will say it's quite polished. Like right now, I'm not getting bugs. There's a fuck ton of enemies to hunt down. There's a lot of content. I'm happy with it as it is for the price. It was like 15
Would it
bucks.
please Lucitan? This is the question that preoccupies us all. Would Lucitan like this game?
I don't know if it has enough annoying parts for him because he kind of wants the.
Does it have soup? If there's any kind of meal that heals you, that's
Who
soup,
has
he
a
won't
problem
play.
with soup?
I
It's
don't
one of
know.
those
Yeah.
neutral things like
Yeah, dude,
Switzerland.
I think like he was burned as a child from hot soup, and that's why he despises. I mean,
Maybe someone gave him like gazpacho and it was cold.
Gazpacho.
yeah, something that like or cheddar broccoli soup that was cold. Oh God. But anyway, I'm glad, man.
I like cheddar
some
broccoli
people like
soup
it.
cold.
I mean, I believe you. I don't think you're lying, but it's so bad looking. It's like I keep looking at videos. I'm like, this is so nasty. So I may jump into it. It's Steam, so I can return it, right? It's Steam.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it is.
Stoned Patrol says, ACG, I totally thought you were reviewing that free-to-play Vampire Battle Royale when you put up the Swan Song review. Stoned Patrol name checks out. No, man, I was, Swan Song came up. I love me some World of Darkness, and we got Werewolf, didn't hit it. We got this, didn't hit it. We had Blood Hunt, didn't hit it. And we've got Bloodlines 2, 16 years in the future. Right? We don't even know where Bloodlines 2 is anymore. I mean, I assume that game's not even, it's not coming out. It will at some point, maybe, but right now I'm under the assumption it's
Yeah.
what else do we got? Regical. Do we have free games?
Yes.
You ready? Let's do this.
Alright. So, free games. Epic Game Store, totally free. Borderlands 3 and Redout. On the subscription stuff, PC Game Pass has Farming Simulator 22, Vampire Survivors, Her Story, Jurassic World Evolution 2, and Umurangi Generation.
So, good
And
games.
coming next week, Floppy Knights, Hard Space, Shipbreaker, and Sniper Elite 5. Xbox Game Pass has pretty much the same, nothing extra. And then we have Xbox Games with Gold that has The Inner World, The Last Wind Monk, and Viva Pinata Party Animals. And it's the end.
Reg, which one was Jurassic Park Evolution 2? Which
That
service
is
was?
PC Game Pass.
Holy shit, that's a great title, man. I'm gonna play that.
I mean, Her
That's
Story.
something with Sniper Elite.
Sniper Elite, Her Story. Her Story is fantastic. It's one of the
Is
best.
it?
Her Story is the where you're watching the police interrogation of a woman who's brought in for murder, and it is riveting because you're fast forwarding, you're finding hidden footage of this interview. It's
I like it.
I mean, dude, that
sounds
game won.
good.
It won awards. She won. I'm pretty sure she came up and accepted an award. It might have been
Also Game Pass.
yes. Yeah. Those are really, I mean, all those
Nice.
really good games. That's the thing, easy to bitch, but man, we just had somebody in the Discord saying their only job right now, not their only job, but the only thing they're really doing is just going through the Game Pass games, finding games that they didn't know about, or games that they maybe barely heard about that look slightly enjoyable, and just trying to play them to see if they like them. And there's 400. Yeah. Like, yeah. And Sony's going to have the same thing for theirs, except the streaming thing.
Just the last couple of weeks, the last couple of months, really, with indie games from like Norco to Citizen Sleeper to
Yeah,
on and on
there's
and
been
on.
a lot of really good games coming out. It's hard to know what's going to be good, though. I will tell you this as a reviewer.
Yeah.
It's been. I thought Vampire was like really looked forward to, and I don't know if I am anymore, but I was doing better than. I don't really look at the views after a couple hours, but in those first couple hours, I was actually ahead of IGN in views at like 20,000. I was like, uh-oh. Like, nobody cares about this. Nobody cared. and I was like, oh damn, I thought people were gonna care about that, and Norco, right?
Norco, yeah.
Another game that I hear about from you guys, but it just sort of. In fact, I talked to Abzi behind the scenes about like, we got to figure out a way to track these better because there's these games. I didn't know about your indie game at all, but that's the little
Neither
bird
did I
game.
until I saw it like a couple of days ago.
But that's the King Story game that I liked so much, but as a monkey.
Yeah.
Like that's quite literally this same kind of
Right.
game, so it would have appealed to me. It's difficult, man. I would say it's now impossible to track, even identify
Everything.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous, and a good time for gamers, a good time for everybody out there. Looking here, Abzi put something, so we're gonna talk about it. So Greedfall announcement came out. I already did a video. If you guys want to go watch, not a lot of data about Greedfall, so we're gonna sort of move on from Greedfall 2, but a new one's coming out. Hopefully, it's just one voice saying all the time, repeating. Just put some poison. How about some poison on my blade? Just repeat it at all times.
Oh my God.
Even in sex scenes.
A little poison on my plate, and let's go.
And let's go. But Saber Interactive joined development of Star Wars KOTOR remake. They've joined up with Aspire.
You need a mana potion. Is the other one, right?
Yeah. You drink a mana potion if you're low or something like that. Yeah.
So we have a little KOTOR like remake news. I don't have any issue with Saber. I think some of their games have been great, but to me, I was sort of surprised that this was like new. I mean, it's news in that something happened.
Yeah.
But for me, I don't really have much to add to this unless you guys do. I don't have much to add. It's two companies that aren't known for, we don't know what's happening. They're making a remake of KOTOR, which I'm excited about, but the companies working on it don't excite me. That's what I'm saying. And I've liked some of both of their titles, but I'm not.
But you're not close to the idea of a new.
I'm close to the idea of that, but those two companies don't interest me as the people working on it. Does that make sense? It's I haven't seen a massive amount of quality from them, though I've loved.
Doesn't fill you with a lot of confidence.
Yeah, or at least interest right now. Like, so when somebody says, "Oh man, these guys are working together," then I look them up and I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's cool," but I don't know what we're getting out of it. And Saber's helped Halo with multiplayer, which is in dire straits. So it doesn't really make me go, wow. It just makes me go, okay. We'll have to see. More interested in KOTOR as a whole than I am companies working on it. But I did want to cover that because Abzi had put it down here before he had to cancel coming in. But the one thing, so Origins is getting a 60 FPS sequel, or 60 FPS patch, sorry, for the consoles. That's cool. I don't think we have much to add to that, right? That's really not, is that really?
It's nice seeing them put out enhancements for slightly older games.
There were a couple of people in our Discord I know who are looking for that update. So
So
Nice.
I hope we see that. I played a lot of Far Cry. So when the FPS boost came out, I think they did one of the Far Cry older games. So I was checking that out. I would love to see them go back to the Far Cry games. It's gonna sound weird. Well, maybe not weird, but I believe the FPS titles are more interesting to me than Assassin's Creed. Does that make sense? Like, I didn't have as much of an issue with Assassin's Creed at 30 than I would Far Cry.
Yeah.
And some of the older Far Cry games.
I see what you mean.
30, I would love to see.
Because a lot of us played Ghost of Tsushima first in 30, and we thought it
that's
was
a
great.
good point. That's good. Yeah, and it didn't kill us. Matter of fact, there's been multiple games
That
have been
type of
surprising
viewpoint.
at 30.
Yeah.
What do we got for questions? Do we have any questions from the Discordians?
All right. Yeah, we got a couple. This question from Rust: what pre-2010 title do you guys think deserves the Mafia remake treatment? So Mafia got a really good remake. I played it, really enjoyed it. Any game comes to mind pre-2010?
I mean, I would love to see. We've talked to Carrick and I have talked about this a bunch, but No One Lives Forever, a remake of that.
I haven't played that one. What's like the style?
It's basically kind of Austin Powers like Spy, Super Spy, females.
But like comedy, almost like parody.
Yeah.
It's Austin
Basically
Powers,
kinda
but with a
spoofing-
female.
spoofing the spy genre, sort of.
Nice.
So I looked this up, and I'm gonna cheat. It was released in 2010, but and I already said last podcast I don't believe this would happen, but this hypothetical is Alpha Protocol. I would love to see Alpha Protocol get a remake because it did have some issues, yet it did things that other games still haven't really nailed. So I would be very happy to see a remake, not a remaster. It would need a remake.
Yeah.
That would be mine. That's a long time though, by the way, because that game feels ancient and it was in 2010. What about you?
Right.
Yeah, and it was a game with significant trouble to develop. Like it got delayed a lot.
Well, the lead voice actor
tons.
left. He refused to ever work in games again and stated that, and that's why they were saying some DLC they had planned didn't get made.
Local stuff.
I hate working in video. He hated the entire like his interview afterwards was raw. He hated the voiceover style. He hated working with Sega. It was a disaster. So had a lot of issues. So yeah, that's one thing. He probably wouldn't come back. Silver. I don't remember much about his.
No,
voice.
I mean his voice, Michael Thornton's voice wasn't particularly like.
Reg, you got any for 2010 or before? We'll say that because I cheated.
Well, the only game that I always wish time and time again that would be remade would be Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri.
Oh wow, that's
It was one of my absolute favorites of that genre.
Nice.
Like it was so far beyond what the regular Civilization series did.
yeah.
I would definitely enjoy.
That would be
remake of that.
That would be awesome if that's what they were. They were just like, we are remaking. Like, it will be current, but it's a remake with the same ideas and abilities from the
Yes.
original. Because that's, I think, what is more interesting than the current ones we get that sort of copy it. Aren't some of the stuff that you can do doesn't feel the same as Alpha.
Oh, someone has a great one. Final Fantasy IX. Great title. Has aged pretty poorly.
Has it?
It's the one that has the
Don't agree.
Vivi, the small wizard with the
Yeah, I
black
definitely
face.
don't agree that it's age poorly.
Oh, okay, well, as someone who is pretty sensitive to like
Graphics.
really old graphics, it was the way I would put it is, the next one is Final Fantasy X, right? And the jump is so massive, like in the graphic presentation. It was one of those, right, Silver, where the difference between cinematics and gameplay
Oh,
was
we're so
just
back in the
like
day
it was.
when they would do
I
that.
mean, it's night and day, right? And that's I feel like a more like cinematic experience with the gameplay would be amazing for
No,
that
that's a
game.
good suggestion. Anybody else in chat? Do you have any? Somebody said Beyond Good and Evil, but I believe number one is post 2010. I believe because that was a 360 game. Yeah, Joe, I was wrong by a mile. I was wrong by 10 fucking years almost. So Beyond Good and
Exactly.
Evil
That's
was
like ages ago.
it was at, yeah. I forgot it was not 360 original. It's Xbox original. So that got released in 2003. So yes, Beyond Good and Evil as a remake, fixing the controls, by the way, would be amazing, and I would kill it. Oh, and that was such a good game. The music, the animation, the animals as people. What's that term? When
Anthropomorphic.
Anthropomorphic. Somebody needs to fix that term so I can pronounce it. The anthro style. That would be good. Some people saying Legacy of Kain. I thought Legacy of Kain got a remake at least, or a remaster. I could be wrong. A remake of the original Blood Omen. I really like the remake of the Getaway. I would really like a remake of the Getaway.
Getaway was a British sort of
GTA.
Grand Theft Auto, Grand Theft Auto 7
yeah.
written.
Okay. Gotcha. That was not huge.
I really did not like that game. Like, I think I played like the opening mission and it already turned me off at that point.
Wait, Absy's in chat. What are you doing in chat and on the podcast? Whatever.
So I didn't give it a fair shake.
I'm just
Whatever,
joking,
man.
Absy, by the way. I don't want him to feel bad. Absy says Dark Messiah of Might and Magic, which, yes, of course. I don't know when that came out. Dark Messiah of Might and Magic current.
I think that would have been like 2004, 2005.
Yeah, I think that was also... now I'm worried to say the number because I'm going to be completely 10 years off, but yeah. Driver, he says, bro, I've been in chat the whole time. Yeah, I've been purposely, like, not calling you out. But you've been in chat the entire time. It's been in here the entire time. Mass Effect Trilogy. Mass Effect Trilogy. Oh, actually being remade.
And I feel like the remasters were good enough.
Yeah, I'm okay. I mean, I know you guys have an issue with one's combat, so maybe you could remake the
I thought the remake actually did handle.
it fixed some stuff, right? Made some of the controls and stuff a little bit. Let's
The
see.
remaster.
Oh yeah, you're right. Aliens versus Predator Capcom version. Oh, that's the 3D fighter, right? Isn't that? I don't believe that's a full.
I think so.
I think that's the one that's like the old Dungeon and Dragons cartoon or games, like the ancient ones.
Like the Marvel vs. Capcom.
Yeah, thank you.
games.
Yeah. Just finished the first level of Thief 1. So I think he's saying Thief 1.
One of the greatest levels of
All time.
in video game history. Yeah.
Actually,
Bafford's Mansion.
regardless of any other issues I have with any of the Thief games, their first missions almost always were amazing. That is one thing that I think Thief games have done well. Saboteur would be awesome. Saboteur was,
I think.
way
Yeah.
enjoyable.
Honestly, I don't think Saboteur's sort of aged all that much.
I did. I played it recently. Well,
Really?
2 years ago. Control. So we're not just talking about graphics. I'm talking about control.
Right.
Like it was really, really boxy. Which, funny enough, that's what I was going to mention right at the starting. Is I would love to see like Code Veronica with today's movement. So that's what I meant.
So now the tank controls. Right?
Yeah, dude. Dude. So
Good
Saboteur
camera.
was still, I agree with you, it was still good, but I remember the car in particular, Silver, when I jumped in this later time, and I remember the car races and driving around not being current. I don't know any other way to describe it. It almost felt like analog
Yeah,
versus
it wasn't.
digital.
It was like the driving wasn't super even at the time.
It wasn't. So I would love to see them.
So yeah.
Great game, too. And unique idea. Black and white turning to color as you saved the world was
Yeah.
something we just don't see anymore. Well, in
And
fact, it reminds me of the kids.
amazing soundtrack as well.
Yep. Or what other questions we got in
This
Discord?
question from Dog Tired, and it's funny because his question is a bit unclear, so it was tired. A game should have been. What game should have been more on rails? He asks.
Oh, that's a
It's actually a good question because we often think about it in the opposite, like what
we
game is
discussed
too
hub
restricted.
versus open world.
Yeah, yeah.
What game did, go ahead.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I think.
Should have been Titan, a good deal.
Yeah, I think that was sort of trying to be too
Yeah,
much.
it's funny because it did feel on rails in a way to me, or very formulaic, right? Because you go to a region, you
Right.
do the fort, and you kind of rinse and repeat. But I take it that the point is more of like condensing down, I guess,
Yeah,
rather
but
guiding.
I mean, not only because that was just one of the things you could do. I mean, there was so much. Like it was just bloated. Like it was trying to be trying to do everything at once. And I mean, especially, I mean, the biggest example from Ubisoft is probably Ghost Recon Breakpoint, trying to just be everything, throw everything into something where it doesn't quite belong, where it should have been more focused, more linear, more on rails, probably.
Reg,
Would have been better served by that.
any from you that you like? You would rather see a little tighter?
Well, I mean, nothing that's better than an Assassin's Creed.
You'd like to
They
see?
are all over the place.
Yeah.
I see Rage 2 being mentioned a lot, and I could firmly agree. Rage 2's driving and open world stuff compared to its shooting,
Very good case. Yeah.
wow. I liked that game a lot, but the shooting was so much better than the
Than all the
driving
other
stuff,
parts.
and then the exploration. It was not even the same. You know how there were 2 devs on that too, and you can feel it. Like
Like
that's one of
that
those
one
games
got the.
where you're just like, wow, 2 devs isn't always better. That is and multiple people said Rage 2, so I think Rage 2's. Did you do
I got
Rage 2,
another
Reg?
one. Oh, sorry.
No, just,
Not really.
oh, okay. Go ahead. Good job.
Well, the recent Subnautica one, Below Zero, it had an issue for me, at least how I played it, that it kind of it lacked guidance at points. Because, you know, you get these audio logs and you have some coordinates, but very often, like the stuff you have to go on was pretty vague, enough that I had no idea to like where to go, and I had to just aimlessly roam until I ran into something interesting. It could be that I missed, you know, key pieces of information or something, but just the way it played out didn't feel good.
I'm going to mention one for others, because I know other people feel this way. Deus Ex Mankind Divided, the last one. I didn't mind the city and going around, but almost everybody I talk to feels that it lost something. It lost some flexibility, and it lost a little bit of its focus. So I would say that that's one that I think overall I can look back at, and I would and say that probably could have done with maybe not doing a city, and trying to figure out another way around. Sort of how that game came out, because a lot of people, I didn't have that issue, but so many did that I could admit that it's obviously an issue. Whatever the expectation was different than,
Yeah.
you know, what we got. I think open world and Rails too is a big deal now, because you have these companies who look at Unreal. Unreal's like, boom, we can do anything, and you know what's going to happen. Every game is going to be like, well, let's do an open world. And that is nerve-wracking to me, because in fact, I would say most games shouldn't be open. Yeah, I'll go that far. I think the narrative is lost. So,
Why would you make a puzzle game open world? Yeah.
well, yeah, that too. Like Tetris open world, where all you do is run around and grab new blocks. I mean, fuck that.
I mean, they're Puzzle Quest, right? I mean, there's
Hey, it fits the name. But no, I mean, there's like, I would say most games shouldn't be open world, man. Like, open world is a completely different thing, and the narrative gets lost. I loved Red Dead 2, and I love Red Dead 1, and I love those characters, but even if I followed the narrative, I remember more about chopping up a deer or something than I do. I remember, oh, he's
Your
sick,
own
or there's this, or
narrative.
that's one thing. But I like I like a bit of tight gameplay where that's why I like hubs, man. They're the best of both worlds. They're the best of both worlds when you have that. Let's land on this planet. That's why I liked Outer Worlds, and I know so many people did not like Outer Worlds. But I liked it because I knew it was not going to be an entire planet. It was going to be a section of it that was contained by humanity and safe, somewhat safe, for humanity.
About it, how the chicken
And you're like, Spanish
around, bro.
well, yeah, look, it's like telegraph mages using SOS fireballs.
Listen, yeah.
Chicken in the town, no one was at. And remember in GTA, I don't know if you guys remember, but in 5, at least I've said this before. The animals would return if they had an issue since then, but originally that was an issue.
Yeah.
That kind of, I thought it's natural progression. Imagine this, imagine in the next game, kill somebody and the whole town knows you, but then afterwards you look at your characters and your character slightly looks worse and worse. That would be phenomenal to me. So like you see, you go to a far off area and you're on a poster, this is weird, you know, I got a mohawk, I'm a girl or whatever. I love that idea. I don't like that instant alert. That instant alert sucks, man. It sucks.
Yeah.
Playground are making Fable. Yeah, true. And Fable's one that you guys, because I don't think Fable 1 was for sure not open world. It was hub. Fable 2, was that also hub? Or were they all technically hub? Because they were all locations, right?
They were all hub, right?
Okay, you had the dog in 2. Or
Yeah, in 2.
in 2, and you had the sister in 3, right? It was the twins.
No, you had the sister in 2 as well, and the dog also in 3.
The what was 3 then? What was
Also
the
hub.
Fable 3's. We're talking, that's mid Xbox 360, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was like, what would have been like 2010.
I just want Fable 4 to have trees that you can plant, like Molyneux originally said, right? That'll be their joke. That'll be the first thing here. The first quest would be amazing. Here's a seed. Go plant it. And then you plant it. And as you travel around, it gets bigger. What were you going to say?
One of my favorite parts about the first Fable was always how, like, scarred you got. Like,
Yeah, got all beat up. Even though you look like a 14-year-old who got the shit kicked out of him and then put into a mower. It was a weird
like a
graphic.
lawnmower, or like wood chipper or something.
That was so good.
Bad accident. Yeah.
Do we have any other questions in the question section?
Yes. Here we go. Rage Gamer, UK. I would like to know your opinions on the bosses in Elden Ring compared to other From Software titles. I felt they were the weakest part of Elden Ring. Too many repeated bosses. Praying to the Bloodborne remaster or 60 FPS.
I would agree. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think the repetition was definitely noticeable. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's something I think we even brought up when we discussed it. Is I agree with that criticism because it did get repetitive when like there were a lot of times where it felt like the boss variety was just now there are two of them.
Yes, they played that trick a lot, especially in the caves and dungeons and stuff. But the main bosses, I actually really like their design, both from a gameplay standpoint and like a design aesthetic.
That's the thing is no game's gonna get it all right. It just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. And so that got all this shit right that was surprising. That's why it's considered so cool. And I totally agree. But then it did have some, and it takes a long time for people to become comfortable saying that their spouse is also a bad person in some. That's the way people treat Elden Ring. It takes a while for people to be comfortable and say that it had some issues. But it did. Bloodborne's the same way. I know a lot of people who love Bloodborne, and I can tell you right now, Bloodborne had a boatload of issues. And still does, because I just recently played it to see if they fixed anything on the emulator. There are issues with that game, but people get so wrapped up that they don't want to admit it. They get that, their dad is a perfect person or whatever. Like, well, your dad fucked your mom at least once, though maybe there was some screw. I don't know. I'm happy for all these. I think that Elden Ring did a great job on stuff we hoped they would finally do, and they did it. Yeah, right? They came out the other end with most of their promises intact, which is that it wouldn't be much easier, probably, even though I still think it's easier, but it doesn't matter. They said it wouldn't be much easier, but it would allow for newcomers to engage with it at a speed that was more acceptable.
At the end of the day, you can almost customize it and make it as difficult on you
Pretty
as you
much,
want,
right? You have a little bit more control.
Depending on how upgraded you are,
where you
what
go,
resources you use, what weapons.
It's very easy to break the game.
Yeah. I can break any game.
So if you're struggling, at least you have ways of enabling your playstyle or something.
At least it was easy on release. Like I know they've nerfed a bunch of it since release, so maybe that's changed by now.
Also, chat. We are getting a bunch of visitors for the podcast, so if you have anybody, composers in particular, developers, make sure to tweet them on Twitter. Copy me, copy them. Tell them we're looking for, in particular, composers, writers. We had an amazing time with the Gearbox writer. That was like learning about writing on games was probably one of the most enjoyable podcasts I've had because it was like,
that was cool.
Yeah, well, it's just ideas that you had, like you sort of get an idea of the way things go. But so anybody in chat, if you have somebody that you're interested, Ken Levine is somebody who has already stated he would come. I sort of lost contact with him, not in a bad way, but I stopped responding. I just got busy. I'm going to reach out to him and see if he'll come on, make sure he feels like it's.
And make sure you put Uwu in the message to ensure.
What?
Don't.
What'd you say? Make sure to put what?
Uwu? You
Weibo.
know?
It's a Weibo.
Oh, is it?
Do you know what that is? They almost look.
I know that that's a Russian smiley. That's literally what I know. That's
yeah. Have you not? Okay, it's fine.
No, that's all right.
Don't worry about it.
But that would be cool if you guys did that, if you took care of it. And I also want to say, if we've saved you any money, man, check out the Discord, because YouTube is not doing well. Oh, Austin Wintory, somebody said, dude, of course, Austin Wintory.
Yeah, man.
He contacts me all the time, and then he's like, hey, man, let's go on. I'm like, okay, and then we both stop. Just do
And
it.
he's got his own podcast where he also talks with other composers, which is also really cool. Very cool.
Yeah, I want to do as many as I can, for sure. Not only composers, but writers was awesome.
Yeah, man.
AI, some testers would be cool. I'm trying to get some people that aren't, like, he was cool because I don't think he told them he was coming on, which was different than the composers for Gearbox. They had to clear it. Remember, they were at work in their office. Like, there were people, by the way, I don't know if you guys remember, but there were people, we saw them look at people to answer a question once or twice, and I was like, oh shit, they have PR people in the office.
Yeah.
And they were very cool. Both of those guys, phenomenal people, and great company to work with. But the writer came on, and it was cool, and I've got some other people that I know, and, you know, we're not looking for... I just don't give a shit about drama, so if it's a drama person or something like that, just don't even try to suggest it, because I'm not even getting, I want to talk about games, how they're made, not some person hating some other person or fucking somebody hating a company or something. That'll come up naturally just with us. We can take care of that. We don't need to invite somebody on who's just, let's see.
Oh, by the way, we forgot to mention Arma Reforger launching this week.
Yeah, did you get a chance to play Arma Reforger?
Not much. I'm a bit disappointed that there doesn't appear to be like some single-player dedication.
Yeah, there's not a lot of...
It is pretty much exclusively multiplayer, but I'm looking forward to seeing them expand on it, and it's looking, as a sort of proof of concept for Arma 4, it's looking very, very good. The new animations. Wow.
That's what I saw you saying, was that the new animations are a huge step up.
The movement system, like, no longer, like, do you have the awkward, like, transitions between being standing up, crouching,
Crawling and crouch, yeah.
Now you actually rise yourself gradually with the mouse scroll. So you have full control over how elevated you want to be. And same thing with your speed. You can also control your speed with the mouse scroll, like in the original Splinter Cell. So you can go at the exact pace you want for going into combat. All of these are massive improvements for Arma.
Really cool, man.
I appreciate everybody. Okay, so I'm waiting, but I haven't heard collective weird ass question to put in the podcast, which is
I don't have one prepared, but I got one for you right on the flyer. Ready? Better, bro. Actually, let's build off one that we've done in the past, which is like, would you go? Remember when we said like, would you go 200 years towards the future or the past? And we settled on going to the past. I think most of you guys wanted to go to the past. So my question to you is, how would you prove that you come from the future? Let's do a ride. Arrives there. He's in the past. And he has one chance, right, Carrick? You have one chance to prove that to somebody, and like your life depends on it, right? You're gonna be considered a madman and thrown on the streets. Prove that you're from the future. What would be the one thing you would be able to do or say 200 years ago?
and you're naked, I'm assuming, like you can't carry a book with you, right? You show up with
That's a
nothing.
good question. Maybe you caught me there, because if you have some advanced clothes,
I just bring up Mifflin,
That wouldn't have helped you much 200 years ago, because back then most people could read.
most didn't mean all. Find somebody. There'd be somebody who could read in a town. There would be. It proves something even.
which reads
You gotta answer the question. You can't back out
Answer
of
the
it.
question.
You gotta answer
That's
the
a
question.
cheat. No, I take your point.
You'd be
Silver,
killed.
but
You'd be killed. It's your life. It matters. It matters. It'll
we're
destroy
imagining
the
that we
time.
really want to prove it.
So that's 18, 20, 18, 22, right?
We could talk about historical events, right? We could say, oh, I know that this thing happens in whatever 18, blah blah blah, and then maybe you wait a few years until it happens, and then you're proven right. But if you wanted to prove it right there and then, maybe if you knew enough like science or how to make stuff.
So
you
here's the
could
thing.
go-
I do know a bunch about science, but I'm trying 18. So 18. The problem
Yeah.
is like certain things were done. Like 15 years prior to that was the first submarine. So you're just like,
Yeah,
okay, you
yeah.
couldn't say, oh, let me show you something. So there's certain things that you couldn't prove, and I was trying to think of antibiotics, but that'd take a while, and you can't just say it.
Right.
Because you could make like that would actually, especially back then, not be difficult to create general penicillin. Like I think most
Really?
of us know. Yeah, it would not be difficult for you to create.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about
Okay.
saying something, 1822 is a bad fucking time.
It's a bad time.
It's a
dude.
bad time because it's like it's prior to.
Great Plague.
It's in the wake of the Napoleonic Wars in Europe. Like, so Europe.
Did they have electricity around that time already?
No.
No.
No, dude, you could, and you couldn't even tell. So a lot of the stuff you couldn't even tell somebody because I'm
The
assuming
terminology is not there.
Yeah, and I'm assuming you sort of have to.
Electricity didn't become widespread until the late 19th century.
Let's say you have a couple hours to prove this or something,
Yeah.
because
sure.
but even then,
Could you put together like a makeshift light bulb or something?
no. Well, old
No.
day light bulbs, they weren't in vacuum. You could no, you couldn't because they couldn't even create.
It's hard. Like,
Wait a minute. You could do a Baghdad battery. You actually could. You could.
oh yeah,
no.
with a potato, right?
Well, not only
Isn't that a thing?
potato, but any fermented, like this, anything that ferments over a long period of
Yeah,
time. And like lemon juices and stuff. What'd you say?
I know.
Go for it.
The Northwest Passage.
You mean explain
Show them.
that it exists?
Yeah, and where it is.
There you go. Oh, and where it
Okay,
is.
yeah,
Where it is. Yeah, there you go. Now, it would take them a while. I'll take that, because it would take them a while to figure it out, send somebody, and hopefully they didn't get dysentery on the way like Oregon Trail. But
Right.
that's fair.
Or get encased in the ice like the Erebus and the Terror. Yeah.
A battery is not a bad idea. I think you could do that with.
You could do a baked down
pretty-
battery, not too
could do a
difficult.
baked down.
I was actually
Or-
thinking of when Krakatoa exploded. Like,
Ah.
but you would, it's not that exact year, but it'd be like, hey, this will happen.
Yeah.
Krakatoa, I'm trying to think of the big explosion.
Yeah, I think we could accept that one, even if you're validated like later. That
Yeah, I like the,
maybe
I like
also
the
works.
geography. Do you have any, Reg? Because you're a programmer. Is there any, like, science stuff that you have?
No,
that could be like,
nothing. I would just be.
You'd
That's
be
it.
killed?
You're just screwed.
For
You're
sure.
like.
It's
listen,
a good
man.
question, though, because here's the
It's
thing.
like, dude, yeah, I can't even write you a program, right? Just
Exactly.
be a computer.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
how long do you have to prove it, too? Because if you did have a while to prove it, then there's multiple experiments, and whether it's, here's the thing is, it would have to show that you were from the future and not just a person who had invented one thing. So for the future,
Right.
you would want to say, a volcano's going to explode in 2 days. Okay, great. It does.
Yeah.
You're killed because people think you're a black magic user, whatever. But we're saying that that's still good advice. His idea of a geography, that's probably one of the only ones that wouldn't get you spiked on a stick as a black magic person, but at the same time might prove
See,
Yeah.
that you knew something.
I don't think like predicting stuff like a volcanic eruption would be enough in like in the early 19th century, because at that point science was already able to sort of predict that stuff. Science
But you
could
can't
also
predict volcanoes
eclipses
right
and
now.
all that.
So it's like, they didn't predict. This Krakatoa
Not
turned around the world.
exactly, but it also wouldn't necessarily be complete witchcraft as someone was able to predict it accurately.
It depends on where you landed. I, for whatever reason, was thinking we landed where we live now, and I'm like, dude, there'd be like 0 people.
Right.
If we're in
yeah,
if we're in London, that would change my answer. Now that I think about it. So we didn't talk about where you land. If you landed
Yeah,
in
that's
a
a
big
good one.
city, that would change everything because you would have materials. I, for some reason, was thinking in a village in the middle of nowhere. Like
Yeah.
with 10 people. I don't know why, because he didn't say that. But that's what I was thinking. So, yeah, there would be, you could definitely.
No, the one I was thinking is like the engine, like the, like a car
basic
engine.
steam.
'Cause-
Well, not a car.
'cause-
Steam you could do.
No, okay, so maybe you couldn't do it, but you could like demonstrate the idea or like show the idea, and you'd be like, guys, I come from the future. This is how we do things there. Hear me out, right? Simple. You show like the idea of a piston, and you go like, this produces motion. The wheel you already know and love.
You'd be killed.
We move it with this.
All I can think of is
Look at
you
me
would
trying to
just-
make
They will
gestures.
take the piston and beat you to death.
They would beat you to death with it. Like, because, by the way, it's very easy to prove combustion by putting something flammable in a beaker and then smashing down on it. You can actually see that result.
Right.
There's all
Yeah.
kinds of stuff you can, but people be like, fireball, kill him. You'd be like, no, it's just fucking science. And they'd be like, science doesn't exist. It'd be difficult, man. Quantum mechanics would get you spiked for sure. Quantum mechanics can't even be described right now, bro. What are you talking about?
People don't agree on that
People don't
today.
like. Oh, hey, we got a $20 super chat. DC Seeds. Hope you guys had a great podcast coming through late. Here is some fresh glitter-covered cash. I'll put it right on my glitter-covered bra that I'm buying with the other
Glitter
$5.
covered, so where's that coming from?
I mean, with the whole prediction thing, you're also in the bind that maybe your presence actually changes things. So maybe you can't actually predict things.
Right.
Wow. Hey,
That's a bit depressive
Well,
of a
that's
note.
way farther than I was thinking. I was thinking about just like showing up. I don't think I'm going to stop Krakatoa from blowing up, but it's possible. These are good questions. Now I'll be thinking about this.
Well, it
for
could
the
also
next,
be
like,
that it blows up like 2 days later, rather than that.
because I stepped on a butterfly, which then affected the weather 5,000 miles.
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
No, but I think we fixed it though. The potato battery, that works, dude.
I'd
or
try
a
that.
compass, like a makeshift compass.
Well, do they have
didn't know
compasses
about.
then? What are you talking about?
Did they?
Dude,
Yeah.
they have
Yeah.
compasses 2,000 years ago, bro. Like,
Okay.
yeah. It wouldn't be
I-
like, you're not buying it
Imagine
from
if-
Smith
I mean,
Wesson or something, but
I mean, they circumnavigated the globe. So
yeah.
True.
Those-
I arrived there,
Wow,
and
Johnny.
I'm thinking that's new.
Your history.
I'm like, dude, I come from the future.
Johnny, like, I can make metal instruments and they're all. Oh,
Watch
he's a
me
village
try
idiot.
to make
He's
a
not from the
shitty
future.
compass.
He's not from the
Yeah, yeah.
future. He's touched. That's what they used to call people who were like
Oh.
mentally low.
Yeah.
He's touched. Oh, and they hug you and they put you in some kind
Watch
of
me make the,
facility.
He has an affliction.
world's worst compass, the shittiest compass.
And they bring out theirs and they're all,
Yeah, they're like, you mean this?
you mean this? Oh, and they pat you. Oh,
Shit.
Johnny, come to our special house where we put like a metal basket on your head and screw it into your chest and you can't
Good
touch your
effort.
face. Good effort.
Well, I
yeah.
think we fixed it. I think we solved it.
What else do we got? That's it for news and stuff, right?
That's about it.
A little short because of, well, not short, we're actually a little long compared to normal.
But the
Short
only
because of that.
other news topic I'd seen recently, but I mean that's rumor stuff, which I don't believe, is that the 40 series is rumored to be launching fairly soon already. Which I don't know.
If it does, I am not interested with what I'm seeing for watts wise. It's not happening.
Yeah, wise apparently the 4090 uses the same amount that the 3090 Ti does, so 450 or something, right?
I think I saw even higher numbers, Reg, in the
Yeah, that's the 4090 Ti that will do
Oh,
6560 or something. Yeah.
Also,
Wait,
remember if you guys like the ACG shirts, you can see them down there. Sometimes they're over the top of Reg, sometimes they're not. I tried to move it off so I didn't cover Reg's face while he's talking. There's an ACG shirt on his
fucking
face.
shirt.
Yeah, I mean, GPUs, you've got that. You got FSR2 coming. So talking about tech just for a second, you got some really cool tech coming. Hardware-wise, I think the only thing I'm interested in is Intel's stuff. In some of their stuff has been very interesting to see what they're doing versus AMD with memory, with the types of CPUs they have, the performance CPU and the economic ones. Oh, we have a question. A joint effort, $5 super chat. Anyone have any good book recommendations? Yes.
Do you want fiction or non-fiction?
Who cares? He said books. And we now it's in our hands. It's in our hands. So a good book recommendation for right now. I got to tell you, man. The Devil's Hand is phenomenal, and it is written by the National Security Advisor for the United States when Ronald Reagan and Gorbachev were having their issues and trying to drop the Berlin Wall and all that stuff. But it's all the behind the scenes of how presidents and other leaders work, and it is one of the most fascinating. There's not a lot of there's not a lot of we are better than them, but there is a lot of their nation does one thing one way because of a belief in communism. We do one thing in a belief in democracy, and it is one of the best books I have read, and it's named after the Russians' desire to have a system where if we nuked them, they would nuke back without any humans being needed. Which is Russia has basically a dead man switch that they have for their nuclear forces. It is phenomenal, guys. It is. I mean, I know that everybody doesn't like that kind of stuff, but to understand what people do to try to make sure two nations don't go to war, which is what they were trying to do, and they also cover a ton of stuff about biological warfare, and just a really good book if you want to sort of track that kind of stuff. That's mine. You guys got any? One apiece.
I'm reading, well, I'm listening to one now, which probably everybody knows, but I'm only getting to it now, called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, which is a really good listen. The author reads it, and he reads it with impetus. Like it, you know, sometimes a different person will read.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not like the same.
Hello, there is a bad guy right here. Yeah,
you can tell he's like, the way he says it, it's really,
Oh no,
it's
you
really
shot me.
enjoyable.
X-Files audiobook. Mulder
Yeah,
shot me.
correct.
What do you got, Reg? I heard you say it sounded like you had a book.
Well, it's nothing new for me. Just I will just repeat one of my old favorites, which is We Are Legion. We Are Bob.
Bobiverse.
Yeah, Bob.
Great.
Multiverse, one of the
Great
best
sci-fi.
science fiction books I've
Lots
ever
of pop
or like
culture
listened to, but,
references. Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, very good. What about you, Silver?
So I'll go with non-fiction, historical one by David O. Stewart, an American historian, called American Emperor, Aaron Burr's Challenge to Jefferson's America, which is part biography of former American Vice President Aaron Burr and part sort of chronicle of one of the most influential trials of American history, which was the treason trial against Aaron Burr for when he tried to sort of levy a war against and invade Mexico by himself in order to sort of ostensibly install himself as the Emperor of Mexico, supposedly. But that story sort of changed depending on who he was trying to sort of recruit, what he was trying to do exactly. And the entire story is really, really fascinating. Aaron Burr is sort of one of my, I find him one of the most fascinating people in history. Really, really interesting guy. And David O. Stewart provides a really, really interesting chronicle. I have several biographies of Aaron Burr, and that's one of the most interesting sort of stories of it.
Dude, we can do an entire podcast about books. You know.
Oh yeah, dude.
Like there's I mean, audiobooks have guys go to Amazon Audible. I'm telling you right now, Warhammer 40,000 has 80 billion books, and they're fully, you know, sound effects. There's normal books like we were talking about. There's people with actors like Reg was talking about. Don't get it, but it's the X-Files one. It's bad. But
It's great.
no, don't get it. Don't get it because I like shit and I didn't like it, which goes to show you. I listened to that entire thing because I ain't no fool, man. Like I'll get it and I'll be like, I'm getting my money out of this, and I didn't. Even at the end, I was like, wow, it was one of those ones where you hear people say an actor phoned it in, but a lot of times that really doesn't mean much. It just means they sort of acted themselves. Bruce Willis is just Bruce Willis. That's not what we're talking about. These are people who sound like they're on the phone reading a textbook. It's so bad that you're like,
Dude, that's so much emotion to everything. It's amazing.
dude, you shot me. And you're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And by the way, Mulder and Scully in X-Files had many arguments in the show. Many like, Mulder, what are you doing? None of that. Never fucking happens in this. It's like, Mulder, what are you doing? I'm lighting you on fire. Why? Because you shot me. And you're like, God damn, man. Like, seriously.
It's like text-to-speech. Yeah.
William Nossum, $20 super chat, a little bit of gas money for the buds.
Oh.
Love the podcast. Thank you very much, man. We absolutely appreciate it. Somebody said, Reg.
Also, one highlight I just remembered from the X-Files one is that like Scully is always like panting.
Yeah,
The whole
panting.
thing through.
Oh, like
Yeah.
hard breathing?
It's
Yep.
it's pretty risque
Yeah.
if you like that kind of
Oh,
stuff.
wow.
Yeah, play it.
Okay, yeah, some
play
people
just
are
that
into
part
that.
when your wife walks in and she'll be like, "What are you watching?"
Yeah.
The thing is, guys, there's a lot of I'm telling you, man. If you're playing a game that you played multiple times, you're just sitting back, and a lot of times you watch shows. That's great too. But if you get a chance, there's so many audiobooks out there. Graphic Audio is another one. They're awesome. Goblin, I think Goblin audiobooks is another one that has hundreds of books with full actors, and those are a blast, man. They're so cool
Nice.
to listen to. Yeah, I mean, they're Nathan
My,
Fillion. Go ahead.
my problem is just I can never retain the information when I listen.
No. Audiobooks are that. I agree. I agree. There, even if I was to listen, Silver, like to go,
Right.
just listening, something is different, right? Than
Doesn't
reading.
stick as much.
It doesn't. And I firmly believe the same thing can be said between tablets and books. If I have a book on my tablet, I have to read stuff almost twice. If I have a
Right.
book,
Interesting.
I don't know if it's the physical,
Physicality
but
of it.
I can remember everything from books in exact sentences, but
Yeah.
tablet stuff I have a tendency to have to reread
Oh, God.
like once or
Interesting.
twice and to really grasp. And I hate reading on a desktop. I don't know about you guys. Ugh.
Yeah.
Like
no.
a long thing on a desktop? No. If
Bro.
somebody said read a book, like read a book on desktop, I'd be like, it's not. It has to be
Good,
tablet.
I did the first Werewolf Choose Your Own Adventure on desktop, but yeah.
Yeah. It's impossible.
Then I got a tablet.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, even a phone's better, right? Even a phone's better.
No, phone is too small for
Oh,
my
is the phone
liking.
too small? Well, yeah, I do have a bigger. I have the Google X34 or 3 XL, which I guess is a bigger cell phone. But even I don't love it. Like, you can't really ever get the right distance. It's like watching a show on a cell phone, and you're like, oh wow, there's something happening over here. Yeah, you're watching a dark show. I have a bright screen on this too, but I'll be like, what the fuck? There's just not enough pixels there, not enough size. People are suggesting all kinds of stuff, tons of stuff. Oh, looks like a lot of people have listened to that Xbox one or the X-Files one, but that makes sense because we have mentioned the X-Files one so many times. Julian Collins says, you must love the Hardcore History podcast. I think it's okay, but this is going to sound weird. We were just talking about what you can pay attention to. Hardcore History is it's detailed. So listening to it, I don't retain a lot. It might be entertaining, but
Yep.
probably wouldn't like it. Pete, 89, $5 super chat. What game would make for a good movie or show? I think we've answered that a couple
We
times.
talked about that, didn't we?
A game. I mean, I still think the Batman Arkham games have better stories than most of the Batman cartoons and movies. I truly do. I would rather see Asylum as a... Well, maybe Asylum became a cartoon or something, but I would rather see the Batman games as like a movie more than the movies, for sure. Just reading here. Oh, same. I love science, but I forget everything in minutes. Do we have anything else before we wrap this son of a bitch up?
I think that's about it.
Cyberpunk 2077 anime is coming out. You're right, Grape. That will be exciting to see because the Blade Runner one I liked, even though I don't think anybody else liked it.
The movie? I really liked it.
Regis
the
Pinky's up about the
terrible
animation.
TV series.
He hates it.
Oh.
Hates it. I thought it was fine, but I'm not a connoisseur, obviously, as Regis. So I don't watch a lot of anime. I thought it was fine. Whatever. Space Channel 5, gonna watch Stupid Sci-Fi, Riddick, Jupiter Rising. Dude, Jupiter Rising's awesome. I don't care what anybody
Yeah,
says.
good movie.
That movie was a blast, man. Okay. All right. Is that it?
I was Pitch Black over Riddick.
Really? So I agree in the story, but I love Chronicles of Riddick feel of like Riff's Warhammer. I liked the gothic dead guy,
I enjoy Pitch.
I agree with you. I think
It's
Pitch
funny
Black's a
because
better-
I watched Pitch Black way back in the day, without knowing any connection to anything else. And then way after watching Chronicles of Riddick, I came back to it and enjoyed it way more with the context of that being a prequel. Does that make sense?
No, that makes sense.
Also forget Riddick. Riddick is actually the third one. That's the one they made after
Riddick is the
Chronicles,
third one.
which is almost sort of a repeat of Pitch Black.
It very much is. Dude, come on. You know, Vin Diesel did
So
not
we can,
try.
We can basically do it with the almost. Yeah,
I
it is
did like
basically.
it is, and I like both those movies. But you're absolutely when you watch Riddick, you're like, dude, a lot of the same. You know, he gets the dog, which I thought was awesome, and I love the actress from Battlestar in it. I really like all those movies. But dude, we've seen that before, where you're like, this is pretty much just the same
The same movie.
thing,
Yeah.
you know. But again, I like
Pitch Black was good, so.
yeah, and I like John
I mean,
Wick.
Jurassic
It's the
Park,
same.
right?
Jurassic Park, dude.
It's always the same movie.
Jurassic Park is identical except for the third one where the dinosaurs get fully out and like destroy, you know, stations and stuff. I don't know how
Otherwise,
many
it's always
times.
like, let's build a park. Oh, it goes wrong.
Yeah,
Next movie,
yeah.
let's build a park. Oh, it
Dude.
goes wrong.
Who's their disaster manager? Because you would just go,
Who's
no.
their insurance company?
Yeah, who's their insurance guy? You would just go, no. It's obviously this does not work, and they keep saying that like it'll. Here's what's weird. They're always we're doing it for the money, but have you noticed every time they're out of money? It's weird. It's like it's no lie. If you track what they say, they're like, we did it, you know, to show kids, and it costs a lot of money, but I'm a billionaire. We're out of money, and you're like, well, if you're never making money from doing it, why do you try? We're on the 5th movie, right? Isn't this new one going to be the 5th or 6th? Where they're bringing
There's
everybody
another
back.
one coming.
Dude, Laura Dern and what's his name are coming. Yeah, and Jeff Goldblum's been in all of them, right? Hasn't he? Jeff Goldblum's in
Laura
somewhere.
Dern's coming back.
Laura Dern is coming back. Yeah,
God.
and what's his name? Sam Neill, right? Sam Neill is at the.
Really?
Yeah, Sam
Yeah,
Neill's
Sam
coming
Neill.
back, fully
It's,
coming back.
Is
So it's
Which I'm
kind
excited.
of like the same stuff as like, oh, let's build another Death Star.
Oh, dude. Not only that, but then later, let's make it even more immobile and put it in a planet. Right?
Yes.
It's like, who makes these plans? You would look at it and go, the Death Star could move around and it's still got its ass kicked. And they're like, well, let's just make it an entire fucking planet, man. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
put the shield generator on this.
Biarga, I always mispronounce your name and I'm sorry, so I always call you Pop. I apologize. 179 super chat on Elden Ring Burnout. Any non-soul suggestions? Fucking, we got a ton, man. You missed Gibbon, which is awesome. What other ones do we got? There's a ton of great non-Souls games out.
Yeah. Citizen Sleeper, Songs
Citizen
of Conquest.
Sleeper, Songs of Conquest. Well, it depends also. Horizon Zero Dawn. I know some people jumped into Elden Ring and didn't do Horizon.
Forbidden West, you mean, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good games out. You just gotta.
Although, I mean, Zero Dawn also.
Oh, dude,
if you haven't
yeah.
played
You
it.
didn't like the Frozen Wilds, though, right? Isn't that correct? You were not a fan of the DLC for Frozen
No, I
Wilds.
thought it was okay.
Okay.
It just didn't. It wasn't like, super.
I keep eating these mints, and they keep drying on my lip, so it looks like I'm like snorting cocaine with my mouth. Weird West, yes, Weird West, of course. Elix 2, no. Screwball, don't mess with him. Don't give him a bad suggestion. Don't do Elix 2. Do Elix 1, actually, if you're gonna do an Elix game. Borderlands 3.
Where am I?
Borderlands 3 is free on Epic. I think that's for free.
Yep.
You know,
True. Yep.
not a terrible game. It's just I don't think it captured the love. We're just still talking. I've tried to end this like 3 times.
Let's wrap up this enchilada, dude.
Why? Let's just go forever, man. Dude, you're talking to somebody who stays up 48 hours without an issue. Let's just
Tell that to my
Oh,
bladder, bro.
You're talking to someone who did a 24-hour No Man's Sky strip.
Yeah,
True.
No Man's Sky, bro. If anybody can launch day. And do you know what's funny?
That's
When you guys mentioned that, Scotty and I joke. Scotty, he's been on the podcast once or twice, long term. He watched it, and it's so funny because he'll mention it randomly, or I'll mention it, and I actually get sick again because I was sick in the last like 10 hours. I started to feel like, well, it wasn't great, and then I was just tired and you know, caffeine dryness. Do you ever get that where like you've got energy because of caffeine, but you know internally you're just a husk running on the
Oh God.
and it was coming to the end, and I fell asleep for like 4 minutes. And somebody was like, dude, you're running into the wall. And I was like, whoa, fuck. I didn't fall asleep. You do it with your eyes open, though, where you're just like,
Yeah.
yeah. I did that
So,
day one.
yeah.
How many hours? 24, bro. 24 hours. Day one. Anyway, any of you four have a Steam Deck? Yes, I have one, and so does Reg. Reg
Yes.
loves his, man.
Correct.
Reg, I'm a little,
Yes.
I like it. I'm waiting, I think, until they got the profiles. That's fixed. They've got some driver fixes. I think the Steam Deck's gonna get better. I need
You
them.
can now change it was the previous patch, but you can change the frame rate limit, like you can turn it down to 40, for example, which is actually a pretty decent middle path.
Not bad at all.
Going 30 and 60.
Is there a VOD for No Man's Sky? Bro, yeah, I left it up there for your enjoyment. 24 hours. It's called Captains for Cancer because it was a cancer a donation stream. All right, that'll be it for us. We're gonna wrap this up. Thank you everybody for showing up, for watching us. Yak, I hope you have a good Friday. I hope you guys do too. Johnny, what are you streaming tomorrow?
Back to Final Fantasy XIV, doing the final expansion in the game.
The Final Fantasies final expansion.
Yeah.
Never gonna
Correct.
happen.
Expansion.
None of those are final. It's not
None
the
of
Final
those.
Fantasy. It's not the final expansion.
It's a
it's-
complete lie in all ways. I
It's
can't wait.
continual.
We should try to get a group together to do an ESO's new expansion though, because I'm really getting prepared to
That's
jump
like
back into this.
only 1.5 weeks or so.
Yeah,
right?
it's very, yeah, that's why I brought it up today, because I actually have a
Soon.
note to say we should get,
Let's do it,
maybe do
dude.
a stream or something.
That's fun.
Anyway, thank you guys for the super chat. Thanks for sticking around. Krelt says later, guys. If you mean that and you're not lying, we'll see you in the Discord. If you are lying, we'll see you in a week. Next Friday, Krelt. People think I don't track everybody. I do. Anyway, you guys rock. Thank you very much for watching us. I hope you guys all have an awesome weekend. Peace out.
Hello, adventurer, and welcome to the Skyrim Book Club, the on-the-go solution for the busy adventurer in Tamriel's coldest, far-reaching province. Let us collect the literature and lore of this great province for you and put it into a portable package so that you never have to stop fighting dragons, picking flowers, or stealing from shopkeepers when they aren't looking. With an ever-increasing archive, SkyrimBookClub.ca has got the story for you. Until next time, enjoy the book.
Discarded Diary by Sombred. Without Destron, everything feels strange. I know Kalia misses him. I do as well. I thought the three of us could handle anything. Three ambitions, bonded by blood and power. Then Vandacia killed Destron, and everything changed. All of my research has led us here. The secrets of the Deadlands opened up to me, and I know there is something within this vault that will help us understand Mehrunes Dagon. Will help us understand ourselves. The answers I have been searching for are right in front of my eyes, but I cannot see them. I managed to grant Kalia and I access to this hidden chamber with my own power, but that's the limit of my ability. No matter what I try, the chest will not yield to me. I don't understand what kind of protection could have been placed on it that would resist the power of the ambitions. I've scoured the book for answers, but there's only so much I can learn from it on my own. At least for now, this is a safe place to continue my research. I think Kalia is restless. She wants to help, but she doesn't quite understand. It's partially my fault. I've kept her out of this in order to protect her. We began this journey to help her learn to control her own power. I never anticipated to learn so much about my own, or about the strength of the ambitions as a whole. It's almost too much for me to sort out. I can't imagine trying to explain it to her. Not yet, at least. Not until I know it all. This book, I know it has all the answers I could ever hope for, but reading through it feels like trudging through wet sand. It resists me at every turn. Just when I think I've discovered the truth, it ebbs away and grows murky. Join me or die. Mehrunes Dagon made it clear what will come to pass if we do not find a way to stop him. But to do that, we must understand ourselves. We must master our power. That is the only way to go forward. This grand, unfathomable power that rests inside us has to be the key. It will unlock everything. I just need more time. More time.
The internet guys, welcome to the GamesBeat Decides podcast. This is the podcast where we decide everything happening in the world of video games so you never have to think for yourself. I'm your host, Jeff Grubb. With me is
Mike Minotti.
In today's episode, we have news, we have games, we have opinions on spoilers for the new Rescue Rangers movie. We got a lot happening, but first I want to know, Mike Minotti, how are you doing?
I'm...
Of course.
Final Fantasy 3 with Richard. And this I'm waiting for Uniqlo. Is that what it's called? Very comfortable. Uniqlo. So, I feel very more than probably 12 ones in stock. Yeah, as you know, Jeff, my 12 and 14. I was able to get 6 and 9. 14 went like immediately. I was surprised that 12 went out faster than 6 or 9 did, but such was my fate.
Probably just didn't make as much 12, right? You would think.
Might be right.
That's
Yeah, I
probably
feel
what
like
it is.
there's probably some. I'm like how many 13s did they make, right? Right. Let's see if I can still get an extra large 13. No, those are gone. I think they're almost all gone at this point. Yeah.
They probably made a lot, but it all went to that. Who was the creator that's obsessed with lightning? Is that Nomura?
No, is it Nomura? I can never remember who exactly was responsible for 13.
Yeah, well, responsible is the right word. Thank you everybody for joining us again from MikeLeeGamesBeat.com. If you want to ask a question, you can drop a super chat during the show right here on YouTube. That's the best way to get us a question. But you can communicate with us for free by emailing us at GamesPlusPodcast@VentureBeat.com. That's the plus sign. Thank you to Carlos Aini, who is insanely great music on YouTube for these our theme songs. We are on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and wherever pods are caught. Give us a good rating wherever you are listening. And if you're on YouTube right now, hit that thumbs up. It really helps people find the show. So we have, I think we almost have 400 people watching, 55 likes. Hit those likes. What are you saying, Mike?
Hit those likes, especially hit the like if you're happy for Rachel getting married on Wednesday. Congratulations!
Woo!
I guess that was going to be a nice moment until I propositioned it into benefiting me. But yes, congratulations, Rachel. It's a cutthroat world out there.
Cutthroat world out there. Congratulations, Rachel. We were very excited when she went to go do that the other day during work. I was very happy. Join the Discord. The link is in the description. Or you can go to GameMess.net or Discord.gg/GameMess. Either one of those will work. Thank you to our mods. You can support the show by going to Patreon.com/GameMess. That gives you access to the secret channels inside the Discord. Access to the Q&A, access to a Jeopardy game tonight, live, actually.
Oh, my
gosh. If you want to watch that live tonight, the details will be in the Discord. I'll try to post the details to the Patreon as well, so you can just click it from there. But you can also get it if you join the YouTube channel. You can do that. If you are, if you subscribe to me on Twitch, you can do this. So if you are a member in any one of those ways, if you're in the secret channels inside the Discord, you can get access to that. So looking forward to it. Hey, it's Jeff here. Have you heard about Anchor by Spotify? Well, let me give you a rundown. Basically, this is the easiest way to make a podcast. It has everything you need all in one place. It's what I use. It's what I recommend to everybody I talk to about starting a podcast. Anchor lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer. So no matter what your setup is like, you can start creating today. Then you can distribute your podcast to the most popular listening platforms. That includes Spotify with a single tap. Anchor is also the only place you can publish video podcasts to Spotify. I did this for our Game of the Year podcast. It went very well. People responded to it very nicely. With Anchor, creators can even earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. And that's what enables Anchor to offer all of its services totally free. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's anchor.fm or find the Anchor app in your mobile phone store.
Whole food store.
This episode is brought to you by CoverGirl. Wake up on the right side of the bed every morning with effortless, clean hydration from new CoverGirl Clean Fresh Skincare, featuring a supercharged hydrating cream cleanser, a priming glow mist, and a moisturizer for each skin type. Healthy, glowing skin has never been simpler. Electrolyte-rich True Clean Cactus Water and hyaluronic acid will hydrate and lock in moisture for up to 72 hours. Not to mention, the entire range is also 100% vegan and cruelty-free. made with skin-loving ingredients. It's easier, breezier, beautiful skincare, only from CoverGirl. Find it in the makeup aisle with your favorite CoverGirl products. Tap the banner or visit this episode's page to shop CoverGirl.
Mike, how are you feeling about Jeopardy tonight?
I feel like we might be seeing one of the greatest comebacks in American sports history.
For people wondering, we will. Our special guest tonight's going to be Nate the Hate. He's going to be joining us on the show, so I'm looking forward to having him and having him help me once again, perhaps destroy Mike Minotti. And I think I'll put up the last month's video. I'll probably put that up today if I get a chance. Maybe tomorrow morning. We'll see.
Yeah, everyone can see the fix that was in for Mike Minotti that day.
I mean, you could call what you will. I call it a loss.
Tanked.
That would not have helped you.
It would have spirit helped me. It put me in a bad place, Jeff. It was too early on in the show.
Yeah. All right, Mike. I got a bunch of news. I think we could probably hop into it. You ready?
Let's hop.
Let's hop into the news with the biggest story of the week. It reads here the headline: The Beef and Chet Armada defeated the vile Windows Central Shrimp by a score of 4-1 in a best-of-7 Halo series. We pretty much destroyed them.
Yes.
It would have been a clean sweep, but one match just kind of didn't go our way for no particular reason.
Yeah. So we started with my team, my glorious team. That was a 4 versus 4 and just a Slayer, 50-25. We annihilated. So much so that it was almost too much. I began feeling like we were taking it more seriously than them. But then it was you did very well in the Fiesta match. It was close-ish. You had a couple of triple kills there that looks pretty good. You did fall to your death almost immediately, but I forgave that. So that was good. And then it was just total annihilation and the capture of the flag again. But then the first big team battle, we kicked down to 50-49. Jeff, you killed nobody. I need to go back and watch this because I was at a party. Party sounds like I was raving. I was at my niece's birthday party. So yes, 0 kills.
And like 11 deaths.
Yes. And 11 deaths.
Something like that, at least 11, or maybe it was at least 9. But either way, it was a lot. It was unacceptable. And if I would have just got 1 kill, we would have won. I mean, that's as simple as that.
We came back in this. We are the scene masters, as we found out when we were doing our scrimmages.
Yes, I did much better in the next one, and it was, and I got a lot of kills in that one too, and that was it was like I felt much better after that. But no one's gonna remember that. They're gonna remember the 0 kill match. So that's gonna be.
Looks like the only thing Miles is holding on to.
Yes,
was the fact that you got 0 kills with the one, which is fair.
Yeah,
but it was a lot of fun. Great job to our whole community. Everyone who was playing along, everyone who was watching. We came together as a strong, unified force of beef.
That's right.
A slab of beef, if you will.
Yes, the slab is here to wreck and to get a reckoning. All right. Speaking of reckoning, Norman Reedus said that they have started working on the second part of Death Stranding. This was in an interview from earlier this week, and he basically said, "Hey, well, yeah, we started the second thing," and then he went through the whole history of how the first game came about. He's like, Guillermo del Toro gave me a call. He's like, a guy named Hideo Kojima is going to call you and ask you to do something. Just say yes. And then Norman Reedus was like, wait, what are you talking about? And then apparently Guillermo del Toro says, quit being a dick. Just say yes.
Quit being a dick.
And so he's like, yeah, I did it. I said yes. I did motion capture for, he said, years. It's probably pickups, right? They probably start with some motion capture and then they figure out what the story.
First, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. That was for PT at first, right? Yes, you're right. That's where it first started, and then they kept doing it with Death Stranding. But apparently that also took a lot of time.
Sure.
But they've already started to do this stuff for what sounds like a Death Stranding sequel, which isn't too surprising based on what we last heard from Kojima in December when he did the interview with Famitsu, where he said, "I'm working on 2 games, a big game and something new and challenging," is how he put it. And the big game makes sense to be Death Stranding 2, because that game sold 5-6 million copies, and even if Sony's not going to pick it up, which I don't know if Sony's going to pick it up, maybe they are. I think Final 5 would be like, hey, we worked with you before, we'll publish it, and
someone. I think Sony may still, but who knows?
Yes, who knows?
Now, Reedus has said this before about and we thought that he must just be talking about the director's cut. He must be confused.
Sure.
This time,
yes,
it has to just be the sequel. Actually, he can't be confused. Now, the question is, did he actually leak this? that Kojima must be like, yeah, tell them all. Like, why did he just kind of low-key announce it like this?
Because he's an actor and they don't care.
No repercussions.
Yeah, the NDA, he signed it, he didn't read it, and he didn't care what it said. So yeah.
Well, it's probably such a different thing than, I mean, in Hollywood, the cast how the
Exactly.
working is, right? So it's just like, well, if I'm doing it, of course I can talk about it.
Right, yeah. And it's, but at the same time, it's also not a huge surprise, so... They're working on that, and then I would imagine that the new and challenging thing would be the cloud game.
Your thing.
Right. People still think that Kojima's working on a Silent Hill game. Yeah. Would that be new and challenging? It'd be challenging to go back to work with Konami. Maybe that's what he means. I don't think that's what he means. So, yes, probably the Xbox thing, and we'll hopefully hear about all of these things. Okay. Mike, I have a question. Why does Activision have a supercomputer to defeat racism instead of hiring people who aren't racist?
That was just incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you want to do like the explanation of monstrosity?
Yeah, so, this isn't like, this isn't like former employees to give us
They're
a weird
proud
thing.
of this.
They have a proud blog post about how they have this tool they use where it's like, hey, if you move the numbers from the community almost gets down in France and like tells you like how powerful like an X-Men character is or whatever.
Yeah, like when you're level